throughout the early morning hours. This afternoon, temperature is going to continue to rise towards the mid-60s, mostly cloudy skies. Then into the overnight hours, could see a few isolated chances of some showers and storms pushing up before sunrise into Friday morning. A dry Friday, temperatures up towards the upper 70s, partly sunny. Late Friday night to Saturday morning, a first alert weather day for the potential of strong to severe storms. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Couch.
There's a lot to talk about today, St. Louis. Let's get the conversation started. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
Every once in a while, a conversation about what's happening in the news goes beyond just the news. And that's what happened yesterday on the program. Hey, good morning. It's Mike Ferguson. Mark Schmitz, father of Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz, as we all know, was killed in the line of duty 5 years ago in Afghanistan. He was on the program with us on Wednesday, and Mark's been on from time to time. He does such great work with the Freedom 13. But I wanted to talk to Mark about the news now that we've had the first American casualties in the war in Iran, and not to talk about what he thinks about the war, President Trump or the Democrats or anything like that. But I asked him specifically, will you recount what you and your family went through when you got that knock on the door? And he agreed to do it so that we can all remember that this is about people. This isn't about numbers. And Mark joined us on yesterday's program, and I think it's a really poignant reminder. Here's what he had to say. Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore, Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Noah Tajans, Sergeant Declan Cody. Everybody in their young, well, Captain Cork was 35, Noah Tajans, 42, Sergeant Cody, 20. I don't know the age of Sergeant First Class Amore, but those were 4 of the 6 Americans who have been killed in the war in Iran. Mm-hmm. In the news, these are numbers.
Yeah.
These are referred to as casualties because there's a term, there's a phrase. But they are men and women. They are serving their country, and they gave the ultimate sacrifice. These were casualties in Kuwait. They were hit by drones. Mm-hmm. We're now joined by Mark Schmitz, our friends at the Freedom 13, thefreedom13.org as well. And Mark, I can't thank you enough for being on the program, because when I reached out, you know what I'm asking you about, and I'm asking you to relive what's got to be the worst or among the worst moments of your entire life, is getting that notification from, at the time, the Department of Defense, now would be the Department of War, I'm sure, to say your loved one has been killed serving our country. Now, I want to get into the differences now versus when you got that news. How does that happen, and what goes through your mind and your heart and your family and your household when the worst news you can possibly get is arriving at your doorstep?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me on. The leading up to that terrible news is the wait. We all witnessed what happened back in August 26th of 21 when there was a suicide bombing at Abbey Gate, and there was initially no reports of any casualties, and then there were. They started trickling in. It was 2, then it was 4, 6, etc., and got up to 13. And when you have a loved one that's deployed in that region and potentially in harm's way, you just don't know if your loved one is one of those numbers. And that part was horrific. I leaned on a bunch of buddies of mine that served as Marines, and they all assured me, he hasn't called you yet because he's busy, obviously with everything going on. And, with that, I went to bed and eventually fell asleep. Well, it was 2:42 in the morning, and I still to this day have no idea how I heard the knock on the door, because our doorbell, ironically, was broken at the time, and they did not knock very loud, but somehow it woke me up. And I made my way to the door, and I could see through the glass that there were 2 figures standing on the other side of the door. And as I approached, I see the metals starting to shine through the door, and my heart started to sink. And at that very moment, I just wanted to will it to be an injury report, which I guess deep down I knew that they don't do that. You'll get notified if your loved one is injured, but not in that way. And I kind of stood there in shock, and they didn't say anything at first. They identified who they were and asked if my wife was home, and I said, yeah, she was sleeping. Let me get her. And I woke Jacqueline up, which is Jared's stepmother. She came to the door with me. We had them come inside. We sat down at the dining room table, and that's when they delivered the terrible news that Jared was one of the 13 casualties. And at that very moment, in conversations after we spoke, there's really usually two reactions you get from a parent. One is just obviously utter devastation, and it immediately hits you like you're getting slammed by a train. And the other is just utter shock, and that's what I experienced. There was no emotion at first. It just, I guess I was just trying to take it all in, and to hear that your son or daughter is no longer with you, you can imagine, is the absolute worst possible feeling that any person could ever go through. I mean, we all know as we get older that you never bury your child. Your children bury you as you hopefully die of a ripe old age. And here we were finding out that our 20-year-old son is no longer with us. And these poor families that have recently gotten that knock on the door, wow, it's something I hate to relive. I mean, I can talk to you about it now, but it's that waiting game is crushing. There's got to be an amount of time that goes by before you're actually notified, and I'll commend the military. They do a hell of a job on getting you the information as fast as humanly possible, so you're not left in that misery state of waiting and wondering. They have to do, obviously due diligence and confirmation of the body and who the person actually is by verification of dog tag, etc. I'm sure they do fingerprint comparisons as well to make sure that they do in fact have the right person, because God forbid they actually notify the wrong family. That would be just horrific. But as bad as you can imagine it is, just multiply that by 100. I mean, it is just utterly catastrophic.
Mark, this is Susie Moore, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. I know how hard this is to talk about and relive, and I appreciate your insight because you understand better than anybody. Talk a little bit about, you kind of touched on this, but there's 50,000 troops right now involved in this operation, and so there are, at minimum 50,000 families out there who, and at least on some level, are left, kind of waiting and on edge and being concerned, but trying to not let that, overwhelm them. Talk about that balancing act that has to be done when you have a loved one who's in theater.
Well, unlike with what happened with my son, I knew where he was located. He was positioned on the Abbey Gate, and that's where the explosion from the suicide bomber happened. Now, what my son was involved in was a non-combatant evacuation mission. So there was not, it wasn't technically any kind of combat whatsoever. Now, it was obviously dangerous and volatile at the time, but it was not, he's up in the mountains with his platoon and he got shot. He was part of an evacuation mission, completely different campaign. But what's recently happened here is proven that whether you're on the front line or you're the guy that's manning a desk inside a bunker, essentially everyone's at risk. And so unlike our situation where other parents had communicated with their kids who happened to be at the North Gate or the East Gate, or South Gate, they knew their kids were over in that area, and the amount of relief for them, for those that came home, at least they probably were pretty well aware that it was not their son or daughter. In this case, you're not necessarily a fighter pilot that got shot down. Some of these guys were in roles that wouldn't be considered, combat in any way, shape, or form. And they got hit by incoming inbound missiles and drones. So, anybody and this is why it's so important, I think, to respect and honor anyone who signs up on the dotted line to volunteer to be a part of the armed forces. Because this is proof that not anyone is technically safe, despite their role or their MOS. And my son was an 0311 infantryman with the Marine Corps, and I knew that was a high risk. He's boots on the ground, and there's a higher risk there because he could potentially be in a combat situation, unlike maybe an engineer or someone that's staying behind that is behind the desk doing a lot of the very important roles that they do. But some of these that were just recently killed were those roles, the more behind the scenes kind of thing, and they still unfortunately fell victim to the retaliatory strikes. And I pray every day that the U.S. continues to do such an excellent job of pinpointing, where the threats are and taking them out before they have an opportunity to harm our personnel. And, I guess the bottom line message is if once you sign up for this as your job and your career, no position technically is really safe because you're definitely potentially in harm's way at any given time. So these other 50,000 families that have loved ones over there, I mean, I know exactly what they're all going through, and I'm sure by now the vast majority have been notified. And I know there was 2 that recently were discovered. Unfortunately, they were unaccounted for, but now they are. Those were late notifications because of the finding them late, but I hope and pray that these are the last knocks on the door that any U.S. family has to get to this operation. And one thing additional I do want to commend, it's the role of the CACO officer. Those are the casualty assistance officers. These guys and gals who have that as their job, being the ones who actually have to do the notification, has got to be the toughest job in the world. I mean, you're literally going to rip somebody's life in half, and they stand there in utter respect and poise, and they are there to let you hit them, cry and scream and yell at them. These are amazing human beings that have literally one of the toughest jobs I've ever seen. And our casualty assistance officers, in our case, were excellent. They took a lot of crap from me. I was absolutely livid about Biden's decision to do what he did, and they heard an earful for sure. But they are very respectful, and I commend them for the job that they do, and it's got to be the toughest thing in the world.
Mark Schmitz, of course, responding to the death of Jared Schmitz with founding the Freedom 13, thefreedom13.org. I mean, I know that there are sources from the military and from the government, but that's also sources from communities and private sector and groups like yours as well. You just had a very successful fundraiser, building a retreat. But when you get that news, and I've just got a minute or so left, Mark, I'm sorry.
Sure.
But you also look at a lot of other people say, what can I do? We don't want to just rely on military or somebody else to do what they're very good at, like you said, but then more people just want to help and be a part of this as well.
We had so many people from all over the world, but primarily from the U.S. that reached out. We got letters. We got, people generally just want to donate money because that's the knee-jerk reaction, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, my family collected nearly $250,000 from donations from all over the country, and although we appreciated it, we didn't want the money for ourselves, so we actually took all that money and put it into our nonprofit, and that's what we launched it with. But it's not too difficult to track people down and know that your card or your letter that you send to a grieving family eventually will be read. I mean, I've read every single one that we got, and there were thousands. And, it does mean something. So if you're not the type that likes to reach out to someone, that's perfectly okay. Just keep them in your prayers. I mean, these families need it. And their worlds are going to be turned upside down for the rest of their lives. And they're going through the worst hell right now on earth. And it doesn't stop when you bury your loved one either. It just continues. The pain is always there, and just look out for your neighbor, and treat them with respect and dignity, and keep your political views and things aside. Just know they have lost their entire existence.
Now, that conversation is also on the News Talk STL podcast, and you can find that right now and share that on your social media or share it with your friends, maybe somebody who's involved in veterans work or somebody who just follows the news carefully. And this is a good conversation for people to remember the humanity of what's happening, regardless of which side of the politics of it that you're on. Got some thoughts on that? Let us know. You can call me at 314-912-1019, or, of course, you can leave us comments on social media as well. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
It's something that's imperative to our national security to have regime change in Tehran.
We will finish this on America First conditions.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hi, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, capitalism, that is increasingly under attack. But why is a free market system so important?
The simple answer, society is much better off because of free markets. Free markets allow individuals and business owners to freely choose what to consume, how to save, where to live and do business, what to produce, and how to protect our valuable resources, and so much more. And this can all happen without requiring heavy government interference. In a nutshell, free markets empower people to live their lives the way they choose. And this makes all our lives better.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. As we follow the important issues facing Jefferson County, if you want to stay informed on Jeffco politics, especially in this all-important midterm election year, make sure to tune in this and every Sunday at high noon here on News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
If it's a big story in Jefferson County, you'll hear about it on Jeffco Patriot Radio. Sundays at noon on News Talk STL. Are you a proud American? Then join us for the Lincoln Trump Dinner, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peters, hosted by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. The evening features a VIP reception, dinner and program with live music by the Comparato Trio. Register online at stcharlesgop.com. Don't miss this celebration of America's 250th year, the Lincoln Trump Dinner. See you March 20th.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you out for a great night of fun and rock and roll with the Queen Tribute Somebody to Love, Friday, March 20th at the Mill in Granite City. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, opens the show, followed by the ultimate Queen experience from Somebody to Love. That's Friday, March 20th at the Mill, Granite City's premier concert and event venue, brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Support local music and join us for a great party. Tickets and info now at themill.events.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Magic Expeditions will make planning your Disney cruise easy. Reach out at magicexpeditions.com.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Just a real quick thank you to everybody. Let me start it that way. That discussion that we had with Mark Schmitz, which obviously was on yesterday's program, that's had quite a warm reaction on social media. That a lot of people have really taken that discussion for what we meant it to be, which was to get the politics out of everything and to focus on the lives and the human cost at stake. And Mark was very clear, regardless of what side you're on, we're talking about the humanity of this. And that really, that's really been kind of taking on a life of its own on social media. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, for that. Something about what the way Mark told that story really is resonating with people. So once again, thank you to Mark for being willing. Because when I messaged him, Jerome, I said, are you willing to live through that again? To put this in perspective. And he didn't even hesitate. He goes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people really realize that when we have people like this on there, a lot of people hear stories and accounts of things, but they don't realize that this is still a human being that has, went through this. Right. And as unfortunate as it is that he went through this and had to suffer through this, I'm actually very appreciative of the strength and courage he's had to try to create the Freedom 13 to help others going through the exact same thing he went through.
Right. And this, like Mark was very, obviously Mark's been very open about his, his complaints about, former President Biden and his appreciation for President Trump in how Trump is dealing with the Gold Star families. But he was very clear in there. He goes, this is regardless of how you feel about the war, because there's a lot of us who are still have questions. We're still, I'm open. I'm reserving my judgment. I have a lot of questions about it, but not on how we treat the families of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. That should not be something that's controversial, and it shouldn't be leveraged for political or ideological talking points. If you're that person, reevaluate your life, will you?
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
JC's Wayback Machine.
Around this time in 1964, the world was discovering a little band from Liverpool. So we'll visit with Ringo, who talks about his all-star band.
People phone in. People say, hey, are you going out this year?
Wait a minute. You're trying to tell me like take the 15th caller? It's like a radio station contest?
Yeah, anyone who phones in is in the band.
It's all brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason.
The Iran war rages on.
Iran has launched a new wave of attacks on Thursday morning at Israeli and American bases, while Israel said it had begun a large-scale attack on Tehran as Israeli and Iranian strikes in the Middle East commence for a sixth day. Plumes of smoke were seen rising across various parts of Tehran on Thursday morning as U.S.-Israeli airstrikes continued to pound the Iranian capital. The Islamic Republic threatened that the United States would bitterly regret torpedoing an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean on Wednesday. Iran is launching more missiles at Israel, as Israel said it was moving to intercept them. The Israeli military has also confirmed its continuing strikes in Lebanon against the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militant group.
Correspondent Karen Chamis, the Senate rejecting an effort to halt the war. Republicans have voted down a war powers resolution would have restricted President Trump's ability to continue major combat operations. The House Ethics Committee opening an investigation of Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez.
The top Republican and Democratic members on the committee said an investigative panel would look into whether Gonzalez engaged in sexual misconduct toward an employee in his office and whether he discriminated unfairly by dispensing special favors or privileges. The congressman, now in his third term, has said he would not step down. In this week's GOP primary election, Gonzalez was forced into a May runoff against Brandon Herrera. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A federal judge in New York has ruled that companies that paid tariffs that were struck down last month by the Supreme Court are entitled to refunds. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures are down 94 points. NASDAQ futures 1 point lower. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. I've always been a strong believer in precious metals investment, and I've always been fascinated with rare coin collecting. But owning the wrong coins that only make dealers a lot of money can be catastrophic for your investment portfolio. AmFed Coin and Bullion specializes in taking people out of non-performing coin portfolios and turning them into gold, silver, or platinum bullion. They tailor a portfolio based on your goals and not what they want to sell you. You'll never experience scare tactics, misleading hype, or high-pressure sales from owner Nick Grovich and his very knowledgeable staff. They will evaluate your portfolio, show you how your coins have performed, and take the time to educate you on the ugly industry practices so that you can make an informed decision. Smart people can make very bad investments when they're under pressure and lack the facts. Call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. American Federal.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. Showers and storms continue to push out throughout the area throughout the early morning hours. This afternoon, temperature is going to continue to rise towards the mid-60s, mostly cloudy skies. Then into the overnight hours, could see a few isolated chances of some showers and storms pushing out before sunrise into Friday morning. A dry Friday, temperatures up towards the upper 70s, partly sunny. Late Friday night to Saturday morning, a first alert weather day for the potential of strong to severe storms. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Craving seafood but worried it'll be too spicy or break the bank? La Juicy Seafood in O'Fallon has you covered. They're not your typical seafood joint. Choose from 5 spice levels, including not spicy, so everyone can enjoy our famous Cajun boils. Bring the family, doodle on the tables, enjoy the full bar with legendary margaritas, and feel right at home. La Juicy Seafood, 373 Winding Woods Drive, O'Fallon. Call 696-924-9171.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story when Oprah beefed about the Texas cattle industry and got sued.
Larry Connors USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
I'm not like the rest of you. I don't make mistakes.
Susie Moore.
What you're telling me doesn't sound logical, my dear.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin Rob.
All right, one of the soldiers killed in Kuwait has a St. Louis connection, it turns out.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, Missouri lawmakers are reacting to that case of the wrong way truck driver. This thing is not just a viral video that popped up and went away. There's going to be some changes as a result of this. And man, St. Louis sports had a winning day pretty much all the way around yesterday.
Yes.
Yes.
Yay. We'll take it.
A lot of sports. Here. 3 of the 4 stories are good news for St. Louis, and then there's one sad news in the sports world that happened.
But they marched forth.
They did. All right. It is 6:06 at the moment. Let's go ahead and get started with the news dump here.
Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, one of the 6 soldiers killed in the Iran war has a connection to St. Louis, like I said. 35-year-old Army Reserve Captain Cody Cork was from Winter Haven, Florida, but he was also a Webster University student.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Webster says Cork was in their master's degree program studying business and organizational security. Captain Cork was stationed in Kuwait when he was killed in the line of duty.
So, I was glad to re-listen to the Mark segment yesterday on the way in, and it just really brings home the fact that what these families are going through right now.
Yeah, and again, I thanked everybody just a few minutes ago because that discussion we had with Mark has really been embraced on social media, and I hope that it does reach a lot of people. Just because there's a certain reset and framing to say, listen, argue and debate the policy, argue and debate what you think about the war. Good, that we should have those debates, absolutely. But when it comes to the families of those who gave all, that shouldn't be particularly controversial.
There's nothing to debate.
There's nothing to debate on that. Yeah.
Right.
All right. A Democratic-led effort to restrain the president's powers in the war, that actually fails in the U.S. Senate. Here's what happened.
On this, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion to discharge is not approved.
Okay, so basically we're talking about a War Powers Act vote here. That resolution, if passed and had it been signed into law, which it would not have been, would have required the president to stop the execution of the war until Congress authorizes it to continue. The vote was mostly along party lines, other than Republicans and Democrats traded one vote.
Right.
You can have your Fetterman if we can have our Rand Paul, basically, is how they looked at it here. So at this point, and the House, I think, is still, or they did debate it. The president's never obviously not going to sign it. So it was really more of a messaging kind of vote.
Correct. Yeah. I think the House may be voting on it today.
They may be voting on it today,
but yes.
But even if it passes, it's one of those.
Well, it didn't pass the Senate, so it's not going to his desk.
It doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I'm actually kind of glad that at least there's some discussion on it, so people realize, oh, wait a minute, the other branch of government has a say in this too at some point.
Yeah. No, and I do think that's an important discussion to have. I think it. You can kind of look at it objectively and recognize why there are certain powers that the executive has without having to run it all past them.
Right.
Otherwise.
Well, and what's interesting is, like, for instance, in one of the articles, because I read like 3 articles on this morning, Josh Hawley said, I draw the line at boots on the ground.
Right.
So
not that he wouldn't approve it necessarily, but that needs to go through Congress.
Right. And so when the war expands, because I got a feeling this thing's expanding, it's just going to keep growing. At some point, there may be another round of this debate.
Sure.
With maybe more nuances and angles to it.
There may well be.
Possibly. Okay, so as the war continues, as we talked about yesterday, oil prices are rising. Energy Secretary Chris Wright was on the Ingram Angle on Fox and says this price hike, he says, is not going to be around long.
This will definitely be temporary. The Trump administration's energy dominance agenda have just massively grown global supplies of oil, natural gas.
Okay, so I actually finally got around to refilling my tank yesterday. My car was SUV was like, hey, Mike, you got 18 miles, do something. So
time to do it.
$2.99 is what I paid in Afton after my baseball practice.
That's what I'm seeing pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, that's what it was. And so don't be surprised if we get into the weekend and you clear $3 a gallon and that sort of thing. And those sort of 2 whatever, 2, 3 whatever has a little kind of a mental
Oh yeah.
line that we see. So we're going to start seeing that go up, and for how long, who knows?
Now, the silver lining to that is that Missouri as a state is still about 30 cents
Yep.
lower than the next highest average. So
Yes, that is a saving grace there, and another saving grace. Ward Clark actually had a great article about this yesterday about the fact that we have really, and Chris Wright was speaking to that. We have positioned ourselves in a much stronger way in terms of our own energy production,
totally,
so that
yeah.
we're not as beholden, and we're that gives us a little bit more leeway.
I mean, not that the Biden administration would have launched the war that we've got now. Had there been a Biden or Kamala Harris
It might have
administration,
handed them some more pallets of cash.
very much so. Could you imagine this happening under the Biden energy policies?
Ugh.
Disastrous.
Yep.
I
Yep,
mean,
yep, yep, yep.
disastrous. All right. Missouri lawmakers are considering a bill to impose penalties on commercial drivers who cannot speak or read English. Yeah. Here's part of the story that KMOV's Hannah Falcon posted on that, starting with comments from State Representative Tricia Burns.
They need to be able to read our trucks, our highway signs, and they need to be able to speak about safety with the law enforcement officers if they're pulled over.
A new bill would allow Missouri prosecutors to go after both the driver and a trucking company if a commercial driver cannot pass an English proficiency test. They may receive a fine of up to $3,000. Wentzville Republican Representative Tricia Burns was quick to call the bill into her committee after learning this driver held a valid Minnesota CDL but could not understand road signs.
But regardless of status, whether it's a legal immigrant or an illegal immigrant, regardless of that, right? If you cannot speak English, you should not be on our roads.
Now, so once again, the driver in this case had a valid CDL, legal CDL from the state of Minnesota, but this would say you're not allowed to use that here if you cannot be in compliance with our law. English proficiency is required to obtain a CDL from the state of Missouri already. The House bill is 3491 in case you want to look it up directly.
I mean, talk about response to a situation. I mean, that just happened last week,
Yep.
and we've got a bill that's kind of addressing this situation. And I like that Tricia pointed out this isn't about legal or illegal status, although you shouldn't have a CDL if you're not here legally. It's about whether you can pass the test.
Right. Whether you can read the dang road signs.
Right.
Yeah.
Which goes to the heart of whether or not it's safe for you to be operating.
So we
a
would
semi.
essentially, assuming the legislature passes, which is a very good chance that this is one of those things that could get fast-tracked on the right side of the highway legislatively, and that it could be a matter of you got your license legally somewhere else, but you know what? You could have a driver's license from Minnesota. You're still not allowed to go 95 miles an hour on the highway, and you're not allowed to drive if you can't read the dang road signs.
Pretty basic.
Yeah. Pretty simple. Okay, House lawmakers have voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi for her handling, or you could say mishandling, of the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation.
5 Republicans joined Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to support the subpoena, which was proposed by GOP Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina. The action reflects continued frustration among conservatives with the Justice Department's review and release of Epstein documents. In a social media post, Mace wrote, "The American people want answers on the Epstein files, and so do we." Greg Clugston, Washington.
And there was another resolution from Nancy Mace that we'll talk about in a little bit here it was not technically voted dead, but it was voted to be killed off by procedural thing, which we'll get into a little bit here. All right, we got a lot of sports stuff going on. Legendary football coach Lou Holtz has died.
Yep.
At the age of 89. He's best known for being the head coach of Notre Dame, where he did win a consensus national championship in 1988. But people forget he was also the head coach at North Carolina State, University of Arkansas, University of Minnesota, South Carolina, and the College of William and Mary, and he coached 1 year in the NFL for the New York Jets.
You're right. I forgot all that.
Yep.
I think Notre Dame.
His career record was 249, 132, and 7.
That's a pretty good record.
Just legendary. And then, of course, in retirement, he became kind of an inspirational speaker and writer to a lot of people as well. Okay, it is official. The Billikens secure at least a share of first place in the Atlantic 10 Conference.
Wow.
With their win over Loyola last night. Final score at Chavetz Arena was 79-65. They've got one more regular season game to go. They win that. They win the Atlantic 10 regular season outright, but they're guaranteed to be the number 1 seed in the Atlantic 10 tournament coming up this month. at the very least. Blues pick up a win on the road, beating the Kraken 3-2 last night. Cardinals lose to Nicaragua in Jupiter, though, but the final score was 2-1. Here's the thing, nobody really cares because that was just a tune-up for the World Baseball Classic. Redbirds host the Pirates this afternoon at 12:05. We're going to get our look at Dustin May on the mound for the Cardinals. This one is going to be on Cardinals TV, so on the streaming channel.
Great.
Before you blow us all away. Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
There are improvements to your home that, you just want to look at different stuff. So you paint an accent wall or you put some new drapes up because, you know what, you just want it to look nice when you're in there. Then there are investments in your home. There are changes to your home that are about your quality of life and that are truly an investment in your home for the property values and for what it provides to your family. And that's why you need to talk to my friends at STL Fence Works. Mike Ferguson here for STL Fence Works. Listen, check out this website, stlfenceworks.com. You should check out their digital tool here. You can basically say, here's my property, here's the fence that I'm thinking about doing, and you can digitally take a look at it right there on your screen with a ballpark estimate and not have to worry about doing one of those sales calls and sales visits. You can get a ballpark estimate. And you're going to say, ooh, that looks pretty good. That's affordable. Those materials are guaranteed. That is American-made workmanship. Let's find out more, and you can pursue it from there. But no pressure, no anything like that. STLFenceworks.com. This is a family-owned business right here in St. Louis. American-made materials advantage. They exclusively use American-made materials. STLFenceworks.com. Listen, safety and security, non-negotiable with them. You want to be able to improve your home, protect your children, protect your pets with a quality fence. Listen, don't go hire the subcontractors or your neighbor's buddy's coworker who does it on the side. Do it with the professionals. Do it right. You will save money in the long run. STLFenceworks.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobbers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, this is one of those stories that it's getting coverage, so it's not like under the radar, but it's probably going to dissolve from the public eye pretty quickly. Did the overwhelming number of Congress critters in the U.S. House vote to shield their own, basically?
It's a fair question.
Yeah. So here's what's going on is there was a proposal. This was once again a Nancy Mace proposal to release all of the files on sexual misconduct and sexual harassment findings of members of Congress. Somebody mentioned this on social media the other day, and I went, oh, actually, that's very true. There actually is essentially a slush fund in Congress to pay out settlements and stuff for members who are, have to settle these claims. I mean, that actually exists.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't, but it actually does. It's to the point where they just kind of assume from time to time you got to pay something out because somebody's going to get, unwantedly frisky with somebody or inappropriate or bullying or harassment or whatever the case is.
Right. And that, there could be a whole spectrum of
Right.
things that fall under that, situations that are genuine misunderstandings and probably
Sure.
don't amount to something that really would be actionable, but it's better just to resolve, and
Right.
situations that are truly egregious.
Yeah. Yes. And everything in between, because
Mhm.
it could be, like, oh man, those are nice shoes. How dare you? I'm filing a complaint. Or to the Tony Gonzalez thing, or to, what was her name? Who was the one? She was the one who made a big deal out of being bisexual, and she was having a relationship with one of her staff members, and then she kind of got run out.
Oh, would that be Katie Hill,
Katie
the
Hill.
throuple? The
That's
one
right,
that
right,
Red State
yes.
took down?
Yes.
We
that one.
literally are the ones that took her down.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And
That would be the
so
one.
you've got her in a relationship with her staff member. You've got Tony Gonzalez,
Mm-hmm.
a Republican, now admitting, had a fling, and and that woman obviously, she unfortunately, tragically committed suicide.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole slew of these. I mean, and so Nancy Mace proposes these are members of Congress. This is tax dollars. These are investigations by ethics committee. Release the files.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with the Epstein stuff. Release the files on the complaints and the findings at and against members of Congress. So if there's a complaint against a member of Congress and they investigate and go, no, there's nothing here, that would be posted.
Mm-hmm.
And by a massive margin, 357 to 65, that bill was essentially killed. So what they were voting on was, we're going to refer it to this committee where it will go into a black hole and never see the light of day. It was a procedural move to
committee, yeah.
yeah. So that's what they're doing. So that somebody can claim, well, no, we weren't voting to kill the resolution. We're just moving to have some other committee look at it. Every report that you have and every politician is going, yeah, that's essentially to make it go away, go into a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
357 to 65.
Mm-hmm.
So in Missouri, here are the Congress critters who voted to make this go into a black hole and protect Congress.
Much shorter list to go the other direction.
It is a very short list the other way. So those who voted basically to protect the Congress critters: Ann Wagner, Wesley Bell, Jason Smith, Emmanuel Cleaver, Mark Alford, and Sam Graves.
So that's
two left. Eric Burleson voted to release the files. Bob Onder did not vote in this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if he just wasn't there, but yeah. So 5 of the 7, in a very bipartisan fashion, voted to protect the establishment. So Nancy Mace on X then posted this. These are her words, and Nancy Mace can be a handful. She's a mixed bag. Without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
Without a doubt. She's a mixed bag.
Yes.
But she posts both parties colluded today to protect predators. Today they voted to keep sexual harassment records buried, and they did it together. The establishment always protects itself, never the victims. Remember their names when they ask for your vote. Okay? Is that fair?
I can't really argue with it. I mean, I would like to see if there is a commentary from any of the 357 members who voted to send it to committee, explaining why to them that's not killing the bill and what they're hoping to gain from that.
Or if there's a reason to kill the bill.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's poison pills. There's reasons why this isn't the right measure. So I haven't had a chance to investigate whether there are rational explanations out there. We've got some Congress critters that we know and like, and that voted to do this. So maybe they've got a good explanation.
I can we can be generous and hope that there's one on this.
Maybe. But
so
I can't,
Nancy Mace is leaving Congress. She's running for governor of South Carolina. So basically, she's on a mission on some of these things, and
Right.
and it's very, very personal to her.
It is.
Which I mean, I can't empathize because I've never experienced what she's experienced, but I understand,
Mhm.
and I don't fault her for that.
Right.
And so this is one of those where it's interesting how some of the lawmakers who are on the way out, they're taking the swings of both sides on the way out.
Well, yeah. Why wouldn't you? I guess at that point.
Yeah.
So, either it's like this is your last shot to do it, so you might as well. You got nothing else to lose, or it's building your reputation for your next endeavor.
Yeah. I mean, I there might even be a matter of maybe it's the right thing to do because they see, we like to use the term the swamp.
Yeah.
And they're going, no, it's a real thing.
Right.
Because you could argue, well, we didn't vote to kill it. We're taking it to a committee where it's going to go through this process. But that's, the
practical
Hill,
effect of
the conservative and the leftist media, they're all like, no, this is to bury it. I mean, everybody accepts that.
I'm editing an article right now.
Yeah,
It's basically
right now,
saying
right.
that. So
yeah, that's what it is. And it moved very, very quickly,
expeditiously.
It was expeditiously put into the ether,
Mhm.
where it is likely going to stay forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very troubling. I mean, and it's not surprising. Yes, the swamp
Mm-mm.
does protect its own. It kind of ties into the fact that we seem to keep not being able to pass the law that prohibits insider trading for Congress, or measures that hold Congress members to the same standard as the rest of the American public, like laws that apply.
Right.
There does seem to be that sort of, and I understand it. Institutions protect themselves.
That's right. That's the human nature.
It
to
is.
do that.
It is. But yeah, I mean, I think Nancy Mace's criticism here is valid, and that the members that voted to send this to committee should answer for that.
I think they should. Yeah, they should explain themselves. And again, there's a couple of friends on there. I mean, like people I know on there that I'm calling out on this. That doesn't mean I don't agree with their vote 90% of the time. Of course, one of them I don't agree with his vote hardly any. But this is very swampy.
It sure seems that way.
Seems very, very, very swampy.
I could be persuaded otherwise, but I'm kind of leaning towards Mace's characterization of this.
Yeah, I think and again, there are times I think Nancy Mace, isn't right with any politician.
Oh yeah, there's lots of those.
There's plenty of those, but on this, and I get she's on a mission, and it's tragic not that she's on a mission, but the reason she's on a mission because of what she's gone through.
Yeah.
And so it's not a massive secret that the culture of political bodies has kind of winked and nodded at a lot of this behavior for a century in this country. More
longer.
Yeah, longer. It's just kind of been a perk of the job.
Mm-hmm.
And we've now got people saying it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, you should never be able to abuse your power and wield it over other people and engage in inappropriate relationships or behavior with them.
And here's the other thing. There are now files that are kept secret for members of Congress who have been found to be guilty of, I'm not in the criminal sense, but, they found to be that they did the sexual harassment or inappropriate behavior, whatever the case is. And those are secret, meaning that their voters and their constituents aren't allowed to see it and make an fully informed decision as to who they want representing them in the next election. That's
seem right.
the swampy part of protecting themselves, and I don't give a crap if you're a Republican or a Democrat on that.
Nope. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also something I feel that's just really icky about the fact that I'm assuming these funds are coming from taxpayers.
Oh, sure.
Totally, it's our purse pool.
Totally, yeah.
So the fact that they are not paying out of their own pockets, that this is all being paid for by us when we didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not saying everybody that may have been accused did everything wrong, but just that simple fact is I'm losing faith in paying taxes at this point.
False accusations are a real thing.
They are.
Without a doubt. So there are some people who are accused because that's a political weapon. We know that happens. Not everybody who's accused did anything wrong, whether it's that or other things. But in this case right here, just an overwhelming bipartisan, immediate, overwhelming agreement. We're going to keep these files secret from the American people is just gross. And there's nothing that feels good about it whatsoever.
Agreed.
In that same vein, I found out recently that a U.S. Senate hearing went all WWE yesterday. Very wild situation.
Good God.
And a politician got into the ring. So we'll tell you what happened in that SmackDown at 6:35.
Are you ready to rumble?
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. Showers and storms continue to push out throughout the area throughout the early morning hours. This afternoon, temperature is going to continue to rise towards the mid-60s, mostly cloudy skies. Then into the overnight hours, could see a few isolated chances of some showers and storms pushing up before sunrise into Friday morning. A dry Friday, temperatures up towards the upper 70s, partly sunny. Late Friday night to Saturday morning, a first alert weather day for the potential of strong to severe storms. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Hello, everyone. It's Fez with the Moolah Shrine Circus. I want to remind you to get your tickets now for our big circus in March. We've got new exciting acts like the Swinging Trapeze, the Daring Horseman, the Human Cannonball, and much more. And kids under 12 are free with a paid general admission ticket. So go to moolah.org and get your tickets today. For the Moolah Shrine Circus, March 20th to the 22nd at the St. Charles Family Arena.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so I had a baseball practice yesterday for my old man baseball, and then I get back home and I go do one last check of social media, and I got text exchanges from these two right here in the room with me here over this bizarre and this violent thing that happened in the U.S. Senate hearing. What the heck happened on that? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and I want to start out by saying I don't think we were actually as much in disagreement as you thought maybe that we were, but yeah, there was a
little back and
different
forth on that.
perspective
And
on
I'm
it.
like, so I go look up the video and I'm like, there's a guy who's totally horizontal being trying to being carried out of this Senate hearing. And so we've actually got the clip of this is what happened. So let me kind of set it up. A man in a full looked like a Marine Corps uniform.
Yes.
Full dress blues is up, and he stands up in this hearing, and he basically starts protesting against the war, and he does some anti-Semitic, anti-Israel stuff and all that sort of thing. And Capitol Police go in to remove him, and he resists. He's fighting back.
Yeah, that goes on for a while.
3 of those police officers got hurt, actually, to some degree. And then U.S. Senator Tim Sheehy joins in. Okay, so here's what happens. Then we'll tell you kind of the physicality aspect of it. But this is what happened in the United States Senate.
Israel is the reason for this war. America does not want to fight this war for Israel. Let's go. Come on, let's go. America does not want to send its sons and daughters to war for Israel. Your inability to name that shows your exemptness as leaders. This is wrong, Doc. And nobody wants to fight for Israel.
A reminder to all our
Commandant, please stand up as a Marine and stand up for America. No one wants to fight for Israel.
Yeah, he's fighting the cops there, and they're on the ground, and and so then as they're pushing him out, he kind of hooks his arm around the door, trying to stay, and then the door ends up getting, closed. It's like closed on his arm as he's fighting. He's fighting like hell against these cops. So he did this to himself.
Oh yeah.
And then the question comes up. Senator Sheehy is like, I was military. I can help out. I can get in there. And he decides to take part.
Yeah, I mean, he basically goes in low and lifts the guy's feet out from under him so that the guy no longer has the feet leverage to help the cops move him out. Unfortunately, at that point, the guy's arm is now wedged in the door, and I don't think Sheehy realized that. So I do think the guy was injured, and you do hear a snap, so it does sound like his arm was broken. My beef that I had was with that piece because it said Sheehy attacked him.
Okay, because I did read some articles that said also that he was trying to free him, and that's not the sequence of events that I saw happen.
He did after the fact.
Well, after the fact, but again, he goes.
You mean free him from the door?
Yeah.
Right. Once they realized that he was stuck, she stood around and you could see him trying to work his arm.
But it admitted the fact that he got involved with a leg, bringing the legs up to begin with, and when you look at the video, in wrestling we call it an underhook. It's and he used an underhook to try to yank him out with his arm being in there. So even if you didn't know that his arm was actually stuck, and of course the view that I put on the stream for the people watching shows it a little bit more clear than some of the ones circulating around. It's still, in my opinion, fundamentally the issue of why is a politician getting involved in this? Why?
Oh, well, you could ask that no matter what.
I just fundamentally disagree with anything of that nature. They had law enforcement. Law enforcement was struggling, but this guy was not a.
This guy was a big guy,
and he was a big guy. He was being rowdy, and I don't agree with. I mean, there's a lot of mental issues with some people that come back from because he was a combat veteran, so maybe that influenced some of his ideology. But it's fundamentally the idea that this was not a situation that needed to be escalated by having a politician inserting himself into it. This is something where it would have been disruptive and they could have called back up or something, but this guy was not going to, it didn't seem like he was going to actually like choke any of the cops or start harming anybody.
Okay, so here's where we probably do disagree.
I'm probably going to disagree with that
because I think in that moment, Tim Sheehy wasn't a politician. Tim Sheehy was a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
He saw police officers struggling with a man who was fighting the whole way, and he knew that felt like he could be of assistance. So in that moment, he's not Tim Sheehy, the senator. He's Tim Sheehy, the Navy SEAL, who's trained to deal with these types of situations.
And so I have not been a service member, but I'm a gold medalist regional wrestler. And so I've been to concerts and bars and different venues, and somebody gets belligerent, or maybe, there's times where I'm doing food pantry work, and some homeless people do have some mental issues.
Sure.
And so if the cops are there or security is there and they have it under control to where sure, they might be struggling back and forth, but they're not in danger. Do I then have the right to insert myself, say, hey, I was a wrestler, I know how to take care of this, and then go and hip toss the person?
I don't know that they weren't in danger. I mean, they had the upper hand. They could have tased him. They could have. I mean, honestly, I think they probably would have been justified at one point. I know they don't carry billy clubs anymore, but, wailing on him to get compliance probably would have been within the escalation of force at some point.
Probably.
Because the guy was fighting the cops. He wasn't throwing punches at them. He was resisting and fighting. Somebody's like, well, he's got his free. No. They're conducting the people's business. You don't have a right to interrupt that. You've got a right to have your say. You can try to be testimony. You can speak, anywhere else, but you don't have a right to hijack an entire congressional hearing in a committee.
And there's somewhere, I'm sure it's already been said somewhere, he got he got better treatment than Ashley Babbitt did.
Yeah. Well,
just
two people who put themselves in that situation.
I can agree with that, but if you look at you're talking about a congressional proceeding, you're talking about Capitol Police, and you're talking about somebody who's presenting an issue there.
Yeah.
Now, I understand Jerome's point. I've never been in the service either. My instinct is that somebody who has and has faced similar type situations at a certain point is going to say, I can be of assistance and I'm going to. And it doesn't matter if my title is capital page or senator or stenographer. I'm, this is the situation is escalating and someone needs help. So I don't fault he for doing this, and I don't agree with the video that originally came out that said he attacked the guy.
I don't see that
he didn't attack the guy. First of all, that was going on. The scrum with the police officers was going on for like at least a good minute before he was anywhere in the frame.
And by the way, if you've ever been in any combat, hand-to-hand kind of thing, whether it's like martial arts, like with you wrestling, with me it was judo, you realize how long a full minute is in a physical struggle. I mean, you in judo in our fights, but our competition, 45 seconds, 60 seconds will wear you out the way of playing like a full half of basketball will.
Yeah,
I mean,
there were chairs getting overturned. This was
crazy.
not. And the other thing too is, when I was saying she went to try and free him, I was talking not initially. Initially, he went in to get his legs out from under him and help them get him out the door. My point was when he realized the guy's stuck, he stood back up, and you could see him trying to work the guy's hand out of the door.
Right, the arm.
Well, that was again after,
right.
Or like his hand. You
Agreed.
actually heard the crack in that of the thing. You see his arm kind of bend. I don't know if it was officially broken, but there was a follow-up video posted by I think his wife or whatever the other person that was with them.
The protester's wife.
Yeah, because he's got a lot of very pro-Palestine behind the scenes.
He's a bigot. He's an anti-Semitic bigot.
But you can see his hand is all discolored and limp and stuff like that.
Yeah, it may very well be broken.
And whose fault is that?
Oh, I mean, it's his fault for putting him in the situation.
It's his own fault. Every bit of that injury is his fault. He, and whether he should or whether it was wise for him to get in. Okay, I find this discussion really interesting, actually, because I've been in combat sports too. But I find it interesting. But the bottom line is, McGinnis, I think his name is the guy. He's like a Green Party candidate for something or other somewhere. And so he did this to himself. He played stupid games and he won a stupid prize.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that his hand got stuck where it got stuck. And if he's injured, then absolutely, that's unfortunate. But he did put himself in that position. And my beef was with the characterization of she is attacking him.
Yeah.
She did not attack him.
Well, what are we defining as attacking, though? Because
that makes it sound like the guy's standing there and she just went after him. I mean, the guy is resisting arrest for like over a minute, and he's
not law enforcement though.
But he's defending the law enforcement. So now I think there's two different things there. There's should he have done that? Okay, we can have. I think it's an interesting discussion in the heat of the moment. But then there was what he was doing, offensive or defensive, and defensive can include helping to defend law enforcement in this case.
To me, attack implies that he somehow initiated this.
Started it, yeah.
Like he started the whole thing. That
I can see what you're saying. I see he inserted himself and took actions against an individual that was already being detained by law enforcement, though. This is what I'm saying. Any other
was
arrest.
He being detained?
Well, the law enforcement guys had him. They had him most of the way out of the room. Go around St. Louis and find any group of police that are conducting any sort of actions to arrest somebody, and then insert yourself into that situation.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing that.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying, though, is that it doesn't matter that he had military experience, in my opinion. It's the fact that his role right now, how he's supposed to be conducting himself, is as a political representative and not as a law enforcement person. And there's never, and we've seen antics from actual, Congress critters and senators before that do all sorts of theatrics. You would not be able to just walk up to them if something's going on and touch them and do this. This is my issue. It's the power dynamic of the representative being there not to be part of law enforcement and then still trying to engage in law enforcement behaviors.
I mean, I think that's a fair argument. I'm just saying I don't think in that moment Tim Sheehy, his mindset was, I'm a senator. It was, this is a situation that's getting out of hand and they need some help and I can help. So you can criticize that.
Yeah. If a cop's losing and he's on his back and the bad guy's got, that's one thing.
This guy was sideways. I mean, he was like,
he was up
dragged out of the room.
He wasn't going down without a fight. I mean, it was amazing because at one point there were 3 cops that could not control him. So this guy was, clearly nuts.
Well, and strong.
Very strong.
And
strong.
Was a big guy. Like I said, I took issue with characterizing it as Sheehy being like an attacker. Yeah. You can argue that maybe he shouldn't have inserted himself, but I don't think you can characterize that as an attack because he basically came in to assist the police.
Yeah, and
that was my take.
And like I said, I think his last name is McGinnis. Is the nutcase that started all this. He's the one responsible for every bit of that violence.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. Missouri lawmakers have an idea. Everyone who's driving a semi in Missouri should be able to understand the road signs.
What?
I know. Knock me over with a feather with that one. We're going to update you on that in the news dump at 6:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A message to Iran.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
On News Talk STL.
Hey, Susie Moore here for Window World. In just over 20 years in the business, they have improved the look and thermal efficiency of over 80,000 customers in St. Louis. Window World windows are one of only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They're ranked number 1 in number of windows sold in the country by Qualified Remodeler magazine. They've got a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. Window World uses a double-strength glass that gives it a strength not commonly used in replacement windows. Window World products not only are durable, but they offer security, beauty, and energy efficiency. Window World is now offering 36 months same-as-cash financing with approved credit. And did you know that over half the appointments Window World was set this year come from previous customers or referrals from those customers? That's a testimony to the customer service quality and commitment to creating loyal customers you'll get from Window World. The St. Louis location has been owned, operated, and managed by a group of born and raised St. Louis residents for over 23 years. If you already have Window World windows, remember that Window World can also do siding and doors. We can help you with everything on your exterior with the exception of roof and a garage door. One thing that separates this company from the rest is their commitment to customer service. This is shown by their excellent track record with both the BBB and other reporting agencies. If you're in the market for windows, call for a free home estimate today. 1-800-GET-WINDOWS. Window World.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
Hey guys, don't miss Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. where we talk about so many areas, including AI, law, and health. We have some fantastic guests on my show just about every Sunday. Don't forget, Sunday evenings at 8 p.m., Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser.
Stand and fight with Nick Schroer.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight.
Stand and fight with Nick Schroer. Sunday nights at 6.
Only on News Talk STL.
The Hammond Institute at Lindenwood University and News Talk STL invite you to an exclusive discussion on Missouri's tax future. Manish Bhatt, Vice President of State Tax Policy for the Tax Foundation, will explore our state's tax competitiveness and the latest efforts to eliminate individual income tax and property tax. Wednesday, March 25th at Lindenwood University, part of the H.F. Langenberg Speaker Series. The event is free, but you must RSVP at hammondinstitute.org. That's hammondinstitute.org.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8. But now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
There's a lot going on.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, and by the way, if you got your weather app on your phone, if you don't get one, and go to KMOVs, that would be a good one to start First Alert for there as well. We got some weather moving in. We could have some flooding around the area today. Just keep an eye on that here as well. Also, one of the soldiers killed in Kuwait actually has a St. Louis connection. Missouri lawmakers, as Susie was just saying, reacting to the case of the wrong-way truck driver. And sports pretty good day for St. Louis sports yesterday overall. All right, 6:49 right now. Let's do another news dump.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
Turns out we've got at least a secondary connection to one of the soldiers who were killed in Kuwait. One of the 6 soldiers killed in the Iran war has a connection to St. Louis. 35-year-old Army Reserve Captain Cody Cork was from Winter Haven, Florida, but he was also a Webster University student. Webster says Cork was in their master's degree program studying business and organizational security. Captain Cork was stationed in Kuwait when he was killed in the line of duty.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking yesterday, it brings it home when you realize, these are real people with real connections and real family and loved ones that are grieving over them.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, the Democratic-led effort to restrain the war fails in the U.S. Senate.
On this, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion to discharge is not approved.
Okay, so that resolution, basically a war powers resolution, if it had been passed by both chambers and signed into law, which would have never happened, it would have required the president to stop the execution of the war, like on the spot, until Congress authorizes it to continue. The vote was pretty much along party lines. Basically, Democrats traded a Fetterman for a Rand Paul. But other than that, it was a party line vote. And the House is still, I think, going to debate this, and I think they're going to vote on it today, even though
I think they're voting on it.
Yeah, even though it failed in the Senate. So basically, this is a messaging. Every politician is being asked, where do you stand on the war, is what's happening.
Pretty much.
All right, now, some of the effects that we're seeing on us, we've discussed this last couple of days, including gas prices going up a little bit so far, likely to go up even more in the coming days. Energy Secretary Chris Wright was on the Ingram Angle on Fox saying, yep, prices are going to probably go up, but he doesn't think it's going to be all that long.
This will definitely be temporary. The Trump administration's energy addition, energy dominance agenda have just massively grown global supplies of oil, natural gas.
So bottom line is there's no need to go panic and I got to go fill up today because it's going to be a lot more expensive tomorrow. It's going to creep up over time, but we're not going to run out of gas. Just so everybody knows, we're not going to. Quick Trip's going to be fine. We're not going to run out of gas. But you know what? Instead of spending $35 or $40, you may end up spending $40 or $45 at some point.
I have a smaller tank than that.
Yeah, I got a
I was like,
I think it's a 13-gallon tank for me. So
mine must be smaller than that because I think to fill up for me is usually in the 20s.
What do you drive?
A Toyota Corolla Cross. It's a Corolla Cross.
Oh yeah, so
It's like
so
a hybrid
you're
SUV.
probably you're probably 12-gallon tank probably.
Probably.
Yeah, something like that. All right, so let's see here. Missouri lawmakers, so Susie was just alluding to this, considering a bill to impose penalties on commercial drivers who cannot speak or read English. Imagine that. Here's part of the story KMOV's Hannah Falcon posted on that, starting with comments from State Representative Tricia Burns.
They need to be able to read our trucks, our highway signs, and they need to be able to speak about safety with the law enforcement officers if they're pulled over.
A new bill would allow Missouri prosecutors to go after both the driver and a trucking company if a commercial driver cannot pass an English proficiency test. They may receive a fine of up to $3,000. Wentzville Republican Representative Tricia Burns was quick to call the bill into her committee after learning this driver held a valid Minnesota CDL but could not understand road signs.
But regardless of status, whether it's a legal immigrant or an illegal immigrant, regardless of that, right? If you cannot speak English, you should not be on our roads.
Okay, so check out KMOV's social media on their YouTube page if you want to see the full story on that. English proficiency, by the way, is required to obtain a CDL from the state of Missouri. So what they're talking about is even if you have a license from another state, if you cannot read and comprehend English, you're not allowed to drive here, even if your license is valid from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that seems pretty reasonable to me.
Seems that way to me. House bill, if you want to look it up for yourself, is 3491. They did get a Democratic response, and really all the Democrat could say is, well, we should be spending money to teach these immigrants English. We're not following through. We're letting them down. That was really the reaction from Democrats, is we're letting these immigrants down by not having English programs that we provide for them. So
well, that's one way to approach it.
It is a way.
It is a way.
A way to do that. Yep. All right, more changes coming to the U.S. Senate after the next elections. Montana Senator Steve Daines. Yeah. Okay, this is This is weird. Weird how this all happened. He announced that he's not going to be running for re-election this year, and that came just minutes before the filing deadline. I don't mean like the deadline was yesterday. I mean like minutes before. Here's what he said on the basically to his voters in Montana.
They need to be able to.
Whoops, he didn't
read
say
our
that. That was Trisha Burns again. Sorry, I need to click twice. There it is. All right, here he goes.
Serving the people of Montana in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate the past 13 years has been the greatest honor of my professional career. I'm grateful to God for allowing me to serve. But after much careful thought, I've decided not to seek re-election.
Okay, so that happens, but here's the thing, is if I'm reading this right, he filed 8 minutes to run, 8 minutes before the deadline, and then withdrew it. Or he filed and withdrew it 8 minutes later or something like that.
No. He filed a long time ago.
Oh, but he withdrew like with moments to go.
With moments to go. So no one else really filed because
Right.
he's the incumbent. He's got power in Congress. Why would you run against him, right?
Right.
And then his handpicked successor filed 8 minutes before.
Okay.
And then Daines withdrew.
Got
so
it.
the implication is that he basically cleared the field for his preferred
See,
successor.
I wouldn't say it's implication. I would say that's exactly what
Well,
happened.
that's a fair inference. Let's say that. Now, I don't know anything about the guy. He's a U.S. attorney for Montana. I don't think he's the attorney general. I think he's a U.S. attorney. And from what I understand, he's Daines' handpicked successor and will be basically a replacement of Daines. In other words, he's not somebody who's going to be very ideologically different from Daines, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, there was some pretty notable shenanigans going on there.
Legal shenanigans, but shenanigans
completely
nonetheless.
legal, but maybe a little shady. But
Yeah.
it's hardly the first time we've seen this done.
Of course, Daines is like, we can do fire me.
Yeah,
I'm not running for election. What are you gonna do? Fire me?
Yeah, within the bounds, but maybe a little political trickery.
Okay, let me go through all the sports stuff as fast as I can here. Legendary football coach Lou Holtz has died at the age of 89. Also, the Billikens secure at least a share of first place with the Atlantic 10 Conference. They beat Loyola last night. Final score at Chaifetz Arena was 79-65. The 25th ranked Billikens are guaranteed to be the number one seed in the conference tournament. But they've got one regular season game to go. That is Saturday at George Mason, meaning if they win that, then they win the regular season Atlantic 10 title outright if they beat George Mason. If VCU wins their last game and St. Louis loses, then they could end up in a tie in it. But still, the Billikens are the number one seed in the Atlantic 10.
Go Bills.
Yep. All right. Blues pick up a win on the road, beating the Kraken 3-2. Logan Mailloux, Dylan Holloway, Robert Thomas all found the net, scoring in the first, second, and third periods, respectively. The Blues have now won 3 of their last 4 games since the Olympic break. They play the Sharks in San Jose on Friday.
All right.
Cardinals lose to Nicaragua in Jupiter. Nobody really cares because that was just kind of an exhibition to tune up for the World Baseball Classic. Final score there was 2-1. They play the Pirates this afternoon at 12:05. That's going to be on the Cardinals TV streaming thing. And did you see Canada and Mexico had a bench clearing brawl?
I didn't.
They did.
Were we stuck in the middle?
Yeah, we were right in the middle, right in the middle of our neighbors to the north and the south were arguing over the fence line. They got into it. And honestly, Mexico was kind of being a jerk, so it happens.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall, selling picture postcards in Kansas City, to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the free market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Are you a proud American?
Then join us for the Lincoln Trump Dinner, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peters, hosted by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. The evening features a VIP reception, dinner and program with live music by the Comparito Trio. Register online at stcharlesgop.com. Don't miss this celebration of America's 250th year, the Lincoln Trump Dinner. See you March 20th.
Hey, Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Tune in this Sunday right here on News Talk STL. We've got a spirited conversation lined up with my good buddy, Mark Sutherland of Stone Ledge Spirits. We're going to learn a little bit about what's going on in travel and tourism in the Missouri area, what's going on in Defiance this weekend with the St. Patty's Day Parade, and have a little fun with a new special release he's got lined up as well. So check us out Sunday morning, 9 a.m., News Talk STL, or your Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Iran has launched a new wave of attacks on Israel, American bases, and countries around the region. A so-called religious leader calls for, quote, Trump's blood. Israel says it has hit 80 Hezbollah targets in Lebanon in the past 24 hours, and a wave of strikes on Iran has hit long-range ballistic missile launch sites and other targets. The commander-in-chief's assessment of the war to date.
We're doing very well on the war front, to put it mildly, I would say. Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15.
The hostility Iran has shown its neighbors has those countries consulting with someone all too familiar with Iranian-made munitions.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the United States and its allies in the Middle East are seeking Ukraine's expertise in countering Iran's Shahed drones. Zelensky has said he's spoken in recent days with the leaders of the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan and Kuwait about possible cooperation. The EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, has said Ukraine's help would be invaluable to Gulf countries.
And they have been really surprised how much Ukraine is helping them in this regard, keeping in mind that they are under heavy attacks all the time.
Russia has fired tens of thousands of Shaheds at Ukraine since it invaded its neighbor just over 4 years ago. Iran has responded with the same type of drones to joint U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iranian targets. I'm Karen Shamas.
Led by Republicans, the Senate has rejected a Democrat attempt to stop the conflict through the use of a war powers resolution. The measure rejected in a mostly party-line vote. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 194 points. NASDAQ futures off 62. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey there, it's Chris, and as you know, Israel is a hot discussion point right now. I just talked about it on a panel at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. There's so many opinions and emotions surrounding the subject, and the Bible tells us, of course, I will bless those who bless you. That's not just a comforting promise, it's a clear calling from God. And today, with anti-Semitism rising around the world, the calling is more urgent than ever. At a time when Jewish communities are experiencing more hostility, more threats, more violence than ever, Christians have a real opportunity, a powerful opportunity, to respond with God's love, to say, you're not alone. When Christians choose to bless Israel, you're not entering into a political issue. You're honoring the roots of our faith and standing against hatred. Supporting Israel is more than just a belief. It's a biblical mandate. Partnering with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, you can push back against darkness and be a light to God's people. Go to ifcj.org to learn more. That's ifcj.org. Live the word, answer the call.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Showers and storms continue to push out throughout the area throughout the early morning hours. This afternoon, temperature is going to continue to rise towards the mid-60s, mostly cloudy skies. Then into the overnight hours, could see a few isolated chances of some showers and storms pushing up before sunrise into Friday morning. A dry Friday, temperatures up towards the upper 70s, partly sunny. Late Friday night to Saturday morning, a first alert weather day for the potential of strong to severe storms. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Yo, this is Vic.
Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddie's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at BluffCityOutdoors.com.
Mike Ferguson.
I listen to 80s music. I love Debbie Gibson.
Susie Moore.
You got into Harvard Law?
What, like it's hard?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
There are a variety of opinions, Susie, on the war itself. I think probably safe to say for conservative media and those who are watching us and listening to us here and reading your work on RedState that the majority of people are on the president's side and saying we should go in. We've got clear goals. We need to end the threat in Iran. Other people have different questions. That's fair.
Sure,
you can do that. You can have hesitation about this, or you can even be saying I'm on board, but I want to make sure this is done right. We don't get into an endless war. Mm-hmm. One of the things that it's really hard to argue is no, liberating oppressed people is bad.
Oh, but some are going to try.
Right. It's not our job to go in everywhere in the world and do that. Sure. But to say a side effect and one of the benefits of this is that women in particular being liberated from oppression is a bad thing. And that's exactly what there's some argument on this.
Apparently.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit just after 7:05 here. We're now joined by Becky Noble from RedState.com. I believe you've met before.
I believe we have.
Becky Noble, another St. Louisan right here as well. So Becky, you wrote on this the other day. Let's talk about what's actually, because I don't want to use hyperbole and I don't want to put words in everybody's mouth who's on the left, because that's not fair.
Right.
But at some point, if you're saying I oppose what the president's doing and I'm just going to fight every aspect of it, why is it so hard for some people to say, well, yeah, even if I don't like it, a side benefit of women not being oppressed like this in the Middle East is a good thing? Why is it so hard for that disconnect to be overcome?
Mike, it's mind-boggling. And I think probably maybe the broader picture of it is basically anything that Donald Trump supports or does, the left, especially the awfuls, the liberal white women, they're against. And you would think that a lot of those women who were the trailblazers and the pioneers of the original women's liberation movement and the fight in equality for women here would just be over the moon about it, and they're not. And I think it boils down to just the fact that it's Donald Trump that's doing it. And now if it were Barack Obama or Joe Biden, they'd be ecstatic and they'd be all on board. But I think that's the main reason why they're not. I think that here at least in the U.S. and in Europe possibly, I think that we only get a glimpse of how life is like for Iranian women. And it's just, we're all old enough to remember. I was 14 when the revolution happened in 1979. And you can go back and look at all the pictures pre-revolution of Iranian women wearing Western clothing and working and going to school and being successful. And then look at all the pictures after that. And it's just, it's heart-wrenching. It really is. And, you almost want to find some liberal woman and stop her on the street and go, what's wrong with you? It's really unbelievable.
Becky, I mean, there've been some iconic images kind of coming out of this. The one, it was from several weeks ago, of the young woman kind of lighting the picture of the Ayatollah on fire with her cigarette.
Yeah.
But I've seen, picture after picture or image of Iranian women celebrating this development and, celebrating their freedom. I know that I'm as guilty as the next person. I could maybe be in a bubble. Maybe there are Iranian women out there saying, "No, I don't want this freedom. I don't want to take off the job." Are you seeing much of that? Because it seems like all the pushback is coming from the people who picture themselves as their saviors.
Yeah, yeah. No, you really don't. And yeah, Susie, I think you're right that no one is going to agree on everything. So yeah, maybe there are some women who are like, yeah, I don't know about all this. But I I I I come at this kind of more of an insider way. My husband does a lot of work with the underground church in Iran, and out of that he talks and communicates with a lot of Iranian women. So he hears what their stories are, and when he's talking to them, I hear what their stories are, and the stories of how many of them have escaped Iran and escaped that oppression. And many of them live in Europe. Many of them live here now. That it's just that I've noticed one thing about all of this is that we've had, at least in this country, you've had all of the pro-Iranian, the Iranian Americans celebrating all this and literally dancing in the streets and playing YMCA and all of that. And then on the other hand, you have all the stop the war in Iran and no war for oil and all the leftist protesters. What I've noticed is that the leftist protesters don't come near the Iranian Americans. And I think it's just out of fear. They don't want to be hit with truth bombs.
Yeah, and we saw that in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sunday and Monday, we saw that literal dancing in Forest Park of the Iranian community and the Iranian American community, and then somewhere else in the metro area, the sort of same hippie crowd, no kings crowd.
Yeah.
That there, and it was the dichotomy was amazing. The folks from the Middle East, the folks of Middle Eastern descent, they're the ones celebrating and saying, "Thank you, United States, thank you, President
Right.
Trump." And then it was the leftist, and many of them are the angry women who are saying, "How dare you? We need to protest this," and they're wondering why their opinion isn't catching fire. You referenced the early stages of, for instance, the women's liberation movement. How can they possibly square this? I mean, is the tribalism just that bad that they abandon what they think are their principles?
I think it is. I think, like I just said, I think it all stems back to just this rage and hatred and Trump derangement syndrome. It's all rolled into one big giant creepy ball, you know, again, women who came of age during the 60s and during that movement and put the time and put the work in to get more equality for women in this country and spearheaded a lot of the things that maybe my generation and maybe younger women coming behind me and Susie are enjoying now. And for them to just throw it all away, um, I almost wonder too, is that they, like you said, how do they square it? That you see so much of them supporting and being behind the transgender thing and transgender women playing in women's sports and all of that maybe somewhere they know that they can't square those two things, and so they revert back to the TDS. And it's a real thing. It really is. And it's an amazing thing to watch. I wish somebody would, one of those man on the street interviews, that somebody would just try to ask them. But excuse me, they would probably just call him a racist and move on. But it's it is a very interesting thing to watch, for sure.
It does seem like there's been, for lack of a better term, mission creep in terms of the feminist movement. I don't know what wave we're on at this point.
Yeah.
The movement seems to have lost its way, and it kind of, I think, lays bare that underneath it all isn't the quest for equality for women, but is perhaps that cultural Marxism that seems to underlie so much of what the left is all about these days. Don't you think?
I think you're right. I think you're right because, especially you can see that in New York, where you have a guy like Zoran Mamdani, who is a Muslim, but he's also a Marxist, and you're seeing that melding of Marxism, socialism, communism with radical Islam and things like that. And it's a melding of opposites almost. And so, yeah, I would think that I think you're right. I think that it's not so much more about equality for women anymore as it is furthering that leftist agenda and furthering socialism and Marxism.
Yeah, I mean, it's melding opposites in a lot of ways, but
Yes.
they have a common enemy.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
that's, I think, that's where the crossroads is on that. We're visiting with Becky Noble from RedState.com. Becky, you just a couple days ago, you wrote this article on the Iranian women's soccer team. And what was notable is what they didn't do at one point with their national anthem being played. Why?
Well, I can't take credit for that one. I think one of my colleagues wrote that one.
Oh, who
but
was it? It was who?
I think it was Ben Smith.
Oh, Ben Smith wrote that. My
Oh
apologies.
yeah. But I did see it. Yeah, and I saw the video, and for that's very amazing for that soccer team to be on a world stage and they're playing that anthem and they just stood silent. It's a huge statement. It really is. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think this is all going to play out very slowly, and so the whatever leadership is going to come from this is still a ways off yet. It's going to have to play out, and I think my fear is that maybe a lot of Americans, people who already have some skepticism, maybe that's a bad word, maybe a few doubts and fears about what's going to happen, that maybe they're a little impatient too, and so they want this all to happen right now, and that's not going to happen. It's going to take at least most of the rest of this year for things to play out, I think, until you get some sort of clear picture about what leadership there is going to look like, and maybe what society in general from here on out is going to look like. But yeah, I think for all of the people like you just talked about, people who maybe are not completely on board with all this and are maybe a little bit leery, find your patience. I think you're absolutely feel free to agree or disagree with whatever the Trump administration does. We live in America, but my advice to them would be find your patience and just let the process play out.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say I've got reservations, I've got questions, or I disagree.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. And we just got about 30 seconds left here, Becky. But what's been fascinating to me, and I apologize, Ben wrote that, and but anyway, I'm glad.
No, that's fine.
But it's still fascinating to me that everything must be bad, including liberation from some of the most oppressed women on the planet. Why they can't even do like the John Fetterman thing, go, well, at least that part's good, even if I think we should have done it a different way. And that just so often shows a hypocrisy of the tribalism that we see so much.
Oh, yeah. If how many times have you heard people say if Donald Trump cured cancer, the left would be against it because they'd say he was putting healthcare workers out of a job. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Becky Noble, RedState.com. We want to follow your work, just RedState.com, or you want us to find you on social media?
Sure. I'm on Facebook at Becky Noble, on X at Becky Noble 65, and of course at RedState.com, and on Substack at gumshoepolitics.substack.com.
All right, thanks, Becky. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thanks, Susie.
You got it. And Susie, we've got a really cool event coming up. The St. Charles County Lincoln Trump Day is coming up. And where can we get more information
March
on it?
20th. Just go to stcharlescountygop.com.
All right, check it out. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Okay, there's a really cool, very useful event that's coming up on Tuesday. This is happening at Nutrition Stop. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Nutrition Stop. And you know that I'm there all the time, and that's where I get my vitamins and my protein and a lot of my groceries and things like that. But this coming up on Tuesday, they've got some educators in from Terry Naturally, which is a brand that I use for things like curcumin and things like that. Been amazing for getting rid of inflammation and getting me ready for the ball season. It's called Blood Sugar, Stress, and Sleep Problems, Natural Health Solutions to protect, basically to protect your heart is what this is. This is going to happen at Nutrition Stop this coming Tuesday, and this is going to be at, I think it's 5:30. Yeah, 6:30. 6:30. In and out, about an hour, and they are going to be talking about natural solutions to protect your heart health. This is not just about cholesterol. It's about things like blood sugar balance, regulating stress, quality of sleep, circulation, which affects inflammation as well, and just things in your daily lifestyle. So we're talking about natural health to make yourself healthy again, make your family healthy again. So go to nutritionstop.com. You can find them on Facebook as well. You want to check this out. This is free. This is open to anybody. And if you got questions, they are there to answer them for you. I am telling you, Ryan and his team told me about curcumin and told me about which is an inflammation remedy, natural one, and it's preventative. And he says, Mike, you got to try this. Give it about a week and a half. You're going to notice a difference. I'm like, well, okay, I'll try it. Oh my goodness. Does it work? I've been a catcher in baseball since 1979, and I have no inflammation or pain in my knees or my shoulder at all. And so this has been a huge thing. And by the way, I'm not on blood pressure medicine anymore. I don't take any medications and I'm 54, none. And this is in large part because I work with my friends at Nutrition Stop. So nutritionstop.com. Go and stop by there. They're on Mexico Road. Right there in St. Peter's. They've got just a lot of great information, a lot of great products. But tell them that Mike sent them, and if you got questions, they're there to help. But go check that out this coming Tuesday at 6:30.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
Don't let spring surprises ruin your comfort. Johnson Heating and Cooling in Wentzville is offering air conditioner checkups for just $99. We'll check your Freon, inspect your condensate hose, and test all electrical connections. Plus, we'll clean your system for no additional charge if you act before June 30th. Keep your home running smoothly this season. Visit johnson-heatingandcooling.com. That's johnson-heatingandcooling.com. Johnson Heating and Cooling. Your comfort, our priority.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, it's Chris Salcedo, your liberty-loving Latino on Newsmax. Hey, everybody likes Mike. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Make sure you check it out. News Talk STL.
Okay, here's a little dose of common sense from the Missouri legislature. Actually, there's a lot of good lawmakers doing a lot of good stuff there. I just like to pick on politicians, and they know that.
They've earned it.
So basically, kind of, sort of, pseudo-criminalizing driving a commercial vehicle in the state if you can't read or speak English. I mean, it's not like you're not going to jail, but prosecutors can go after you for this. So we'll give you the details on that here in just a minute. So I say kind of, sort of, pseudo. There's a penalty, but, you know.
Yeah, monetary penalty.
Monetary penalty for this. But it's not necessarily just a civil thing. It's be a penalty for breaking the law here. And, oh, yeah, there are other things in the news and other things to take in, like op-eds and things like that. And you're going to find the news. You're going to find the opinion pieces at RedState.com. So, Susie, what are some good starting points for today's reading?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Today on Red State Front and Center, we've got a great VIP article from Bob Hogue. It's called Astonishing 2015 Video Shows Rubio Channeling His Inner Nostradamus. Predicted everything about Iran. It's a speech that Rubio gave on the Senate floor back in 2015 that basically everything he says, you're like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And it actually, kind of highlights the fact that Rubio is he is really shining in his role, and he is the right person at the right time, I would say.
Yeah, I think everybody thought, Rubio will be fine. I don't know that there was that many who totally objected to him being in there, but even his most ardent ideological opponents have to go, oh, he's proven to be really good at this.
Yeah, and this just really kind of highlights that he knows what he's talking about. So great read from Bob. This one from Nick Arama is another VIP, but it's something that people may not have considered. We were so caught up in Jasmine Crockett losing. She says Dems may have played themselves with Tallarico. His remarks that would be killer ads for the GOP.
Yeah.
Tallarico's got a lot of content out there that...
this guy's something else.
Yeah, I hope the GOP is pulling all of that and going to be playing it far and wide in Texas.
Okay, so Jerome was showing me one of those clips. I literally had to go, that's AI, right? I mean, no human actually said that, right?
No.
Oh, no, it was him.
Yeah,
No.
he's as woke as you can get.
Yeah.
Think Pete Buttigieg on steroids.
Yeah. Think Pete Buttigieg and Cori Bush meld together and create something, and that thing goes, oh, that guy's weird.
Yeah, exactly. Last but not least, from our managing editor, Jennifer Van Laar, the Pratt effect. Woman responsible for empty Palisades Reservoir gets booted. This all ties back to the Palisades fires last year.
Yeah.
You may recall the reservoirs that should have theoretically had the water in them for the firefighters to use to put out the fires were empty.
Mhm.
Well, now there's being some consequences for that.
Yeah, and that's what's fascinating. Back when I used to do my syndicated, my national show, American Viewpoints. I don't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody who just studies forestry and environment and climate and things like that. And on that show, I didn't necessarily just hit everything conservative, but whoever it was that pointed out, I remember them saying, yeah, you can trace the policy problems, the left-wing policy problems. And this was not a particularly conservative person. For instance, banning cutting down trees in the forest. Stopping the logging in the name of the environment because they want to cut trees down. The reservoir itself, that was a big one at the time. But for instance, the wooded areas in that area were so overgrown and so thick because nobody was allowed to cut them. The fire basically, it wasn't gasoline, but it might as well have been natural gasoline for those fires.
Right. That was all the fuel it needed.
Yeah. We did not subdue and manage the lands the way that we could have. Now, that wouldn't have stopped the fires per se. Almost every one of these wildfires is natural. It's something happens from a lightning strike or something like that. Every once in a while, there's a camper who does something stupid and makes Smokey the Bear cry or whatever. But in this case right here, they could say, we can show you time after time and time where left-wing environmental policies put people's lives and property in direct danger out of ideology. It's not just theoretical.
There's smart forest management, and then there's what California does.
Yes.
It's disgusting what's been done to that state.
Right. All right. So in Missouri here, this fallout from that wrong way semi-truck driver thing.
That's big.
This is, and then a lot of times when something like that happens, somebody will file a knee-jerk virtue signaling piece of legislation. That's not what's happening right now in Missouri. They have looked at that and said, there's a problem here. Now, Missouri law already requires you to demonstrate that you have English proficiency, that you can recognize and understand what the road signs mean. You can read the sign. You have to be able to show that you have to be able to communicate in English. Doesn't mean English has to be your first language.
No.
But it means you have to be able to do basic communication and comprehension.
So let's do a little thought experiment here.
Yeah.
Let's say you are spending some time in a foreign country.
Which I've done.
Yeah. And since you're going to be there long enough, you're actually going to rent a vehicle.
Yeah.
And you're going to be driving on their roads.
Which I've done.
Do you not need a basic understanding, if not you have to be able to at least understand the traffic signs.
Yes.
And the rules of the road.
Yes.
And what if you get pulled over by a local officer?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to communicate, right?
Right, yes.
So I would not just wander over to Germany and start driving around Germany unless I was sure I understood their rules of the road and their traffic signs.
Right.
Why would we want people here doing that don't have that same understanding and operating 80,000-pound vehicles.
Especially if you're operating the commercial massive vehicles. But remember, CDLs, that's not just for the trucks. These are those shuttle vans that go to the airport and back. These are the limousines. These are all of those things as well. Delivery vehicles, big box trucks, that are going from wherever. That's all of these things. So yeah, this makes perfect sense. And so what Missouri lawmakers are doing is saying, okay, it doesn't matter where your license comes from. In our state, you have to be able to communicate and understand English in order to be allowed to drive in our state. We're not saying your license is invalid from Minnesota or from Kansas or from Florida or wherever, California. It just means that once you cross over into our state, these are the rules. Them's the rules. You need to be able to do that. If you can't do that, then you cannot drive in our state.
Yeah. I'm sure there's already an ACLU challenge being, drafted.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there well could be, because you've got the, what's the legal term? When you're recognizing everything from the other states.
Reciprocity.
There's reciprocity. So,
interstate highways, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm the law isn't passed yet, but there will be a legal challenge.
Even if this makes sense to do this.
Yeah, it's true.
While we're still waiting for the SAVE Act to get passed, the Senate votes to leave control of the war with the president. What's next? And is there a limit to what you're okay with? Let's talk about that at 7:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Our country was founded by geniuses, but it's being run by idiots.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. Showers and storms continue to push out throughout the area throughout the early morning hours. This afternoon, temperature is going to continue to rise towards the mid-60s, mostly cloudy skies. Then into the overnight hours, could see a few isolated chances of some showers and storms pushing out before sunrise into Friday morning. A dry Friday, temperatures up towards the upper 70s, partly sunny. Late Friday night to Saturday morning, a first alert weather day for the potential of strong to severe storms. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
John Beal knows it right after a hailstorm. New roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business, helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Two things that define nature: tampons in the men's room and Gavin Newsom. Got your attention? Let's deal with Newsom first. Serving as Lieutenant Governor of California 8 years, Governor for 7, 15 years with his hands on California. And he was asked, has California been overregulated? Newsom admitted, yeah, but I have a new plan. In other words, I have a plan for more regulation. Adding, we can't just focus on rhetoric. We actually have to deliver a better plan. Yeah, right, and pigs will fly. Now, totally unnatural, as is tampons in the men's room at Netflix. And that apparently torpedoed Netflix plans to buy Warner's. Netflix insists we're not part of the leftist woke agenda and invited members of Congress to the headquarters. And there in the men's room, a business claiming not to push woke agendas, tampon machines in the men's room. Of course, the price is still a big part of the deal. But for Missouri Congressman Jason Smith, who was on that tour, tampons told him and other members, Netflix is still woke, and we're not going to approve any merger that would put more trash in the face of our children.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you out for a great night of fun and rock and roll with the Queen Tribute Somebody to Love, Friday, March 20th at the Mill in Granite City. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, opens the show, followed by the ultimate Queen experience from Somebody to Love. That's Friday, March 20th at the Mill, Granite City's premier concert and event venue, brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Support local music and join us for a great party. Tickets and info now at themill.events.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Steph's Pizza. You know the name. They're famous for their St. Louis-style pizza. But don't forget their party platters for the holidays. Steph's sandwiches, pasta, and pizza are always big hits at any get-together. And the party platters make it easy. 3 great locations, St. Peter's on Jargaman, in St. Charles on Zumbill, and their newest location in Lake St. Louis at 111 Pondfort Trail. Check them out at Steph'sPizza.com, Steph'sPizza.com. And remember, tonight's a good night for Steph's Pizza.
We talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
1019 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, so the president's keeping his ability to run the war in Iran unchecked. Mm-hmm. You know, he's the commander-in-chief. He's the guy calling all the shots here. So how long is this thing going to last? Meaning the war itself.
Fair question.
Fair question here. So the U.S. Senate rejecting an effort to basically halt the president's complete authority to run the war in Iraq. Here's the story from our friends at Town Hall.
Senate Republicans voted down a war powers resolution that would restrict President Trump's ability to continue major combat operations against Iran. The vote fell mostly along party lines. It was a sign of early GOP public support for a conflict that has rapidly spread across the Middle East. Democrats complain that the war is not justified and that there's no clear U.S. exit strategy. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so had this passed the Senate, which it was not going to, I mean, even losing one vote with Rand Paul, that was not going to happen.
Mm-mm.
We'll see what the House votes today, but it's irrelevant.
Right.
But you really had, and I think Greg was right about this, what you really have is you're making your statement. Which side are you on this?
Which I actually don't disagree with. Like, I mean, even if you know it's not going to go anywhere, I think it's fine to go ahead. I mean, there does need to be this recognition that we do have, multiple branches of government and they each have a role to play. So I don't really take, sometimes there's show votes and it's really annoying.
Right.
But this doesn't really bother me, particularly on an issue this serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And for instance, both Senators Eric Schmidt and Josh Hawley voted against the measure, meaning that voting against the measure meant that you're voting to give the president the complete authority to execute
for
war.
now.
For now. Both Illinois senators, as you would expect, voted for the measure, for the war powers resolution. That's how you would expect.
Durbin and
Duckworth. That's how you would expect it to be.
Law firm.
That's right.
Durbin and Duckworth.
And so Josh Hawley, though, I thought it was interesting. In one of the articles I read, he was quoted as saying that's his vote for now, but he draws the line at boots on the ground.
Yes.
And at that point, if it came back up, he's indicating, well, I might have a different opinion if there are boots on the ground. Well, here's the thing. At some point, there's going to be boots on the ground.
Yeah, I think my read on his take was if we're talking about putting boots on the ground, that does need to come through us. Not necessarily that he would vote no.
Yeah.
But just that needs to have that additional layer of consideration. And I don't disagree with
I think he's
fair.
right about that. I think he's right about that.
I think and I can't really take issue with that.
And the thing is that if, let's say, and because there's been some, the president was asked about boots on the ground, and he said he is not ruling that out. Now, not ruling it out doesn't mean that he's going to do
Correct.
it.
He likes to keep all the options on the table.
Right, which totally understand that. But, the option is there. So if and when it escalates to that point, here's the thing is you can do another war powers resolution and say, okay, now you're at a point where we have to be consulted here. We have to be, we're gonna claim this part of the constitutional order. The president would still probably veto, but if it's a resolution, they can still pass it. It doesn't really become effective.
Yeah, you still need 2/3 of Congress on board for that. Ultimately,
you're not going to get it. But then you've got a much stronger signal with Republicans going, no, Republican, Democrat, whatever. We need to be consulted on this. And if for another reason is that you're asking us for billions and billions of dollars that we didn't originally budget.
Right. No, and I think that's the appropriate time to be having those conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, there needs to be a debate over it. If we're talking about sending troops in on the ground anywhere, that needs to be a discussion that's more than just an executive decision.
Yeah, Newsmax is reporting that Speaker Mike Johnson just a little bit ago was saying, well, this isn't a war, it's an operation. It's a war. It's legally declared. No, it's not.
We haven't had one of those in
since
decades.
World War II.
Right.
Yeah, since World War II, literally. But so you can get into the legalese, but it comes down to, yes, we're in. We need to get the objectives done in the most efficient way possible. At the same time, we also need to remember there's a reason we have separation of powers.
Yeah. And I think that the distinction he's making too is it is in that kind of that limbo window.
Yeah.
It's within the purview of the executive to be kind of calling the shots on this right now. And it's still in that zone right now.
And I think the president is at the moment. I think he is within his legal.
So
his legal
I think
authority,
you can make the argument semantically that it isn't technically a war, but from a practical standpoint, it is. We're bombing stuff. It's going on for days. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they keep calling it a war, too.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's not like, and I think it was the Babylon Bee or something. It's not like we're trying to be semantic about it and go, listen, we're just helping. We saw they had a shortage of submarines, so we turned their battleships into submarines. It's not like we're trying to make that kind of case.
Well, and I've also seen, too, it's like the left can't define what a woman is. Apparently the right can't define what a war is.
That's fair. That's fair.
But there are, I've been trying to look very deeply into this, and the Wartime Act of 1973 does allow for this for a period of 60 days, assuming that other elements were also met. And then there's also what's called military operations other than war, and there's massive guidelines of what originally
it's called MOW.
Yes. And it's a very clearly defined, here is what you can and cannot do, here's what would constitute it, but it would allow for this sort of thing. It's just, again, when you're continually saying it's not a war, and then you listen to President Trump and Pete Hegseth and sometimes others in the administration say, well, that's just the way war is. It's like, well, it sounds like you guys think it's a war.
Connotatively, we're blowing up a lot of stuff. We're killing a lot of people. And so that's warfare.
The lawyers versus the non-lawyers talking about it.
Yeah,
That's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah, I mean, when the missile's heading right at you, it's not like, is that an operational missile or is that a war?
Is this kinetic or non?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think,
So then it comes down to, because there is a lot of apprehension, there's a lot of questions. Anytime we have something on this scale, like you said, Susie, there's nothing wrong with saying, I have questions. And we need to make sure we're doing this the right way if we're going to do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you're not supporting your president. Doesn't mean you're not supporting your country. Doesn't mean you're not supporting your military. But it says that I care enough to make sure that we're doing this not only the right way, but the moral and the ethical way.
Right. Yeah. No, I think I would hope that most people looking at this situation would want that approach.
Yeah.
This is real. We're already seeing the real cost in lives and injuries. We're already seeing the real cost dollars wise. I mean, this is a big deal. So yeah, I mean, it needs to be more than just one person's decision if you're talking about anything that is, stretches on and basically is going to embroil us in something.
Yeah, and I understand the administration not saying here's the deadline. Because then you box yourself.
Yeah,
in.
you can't do that.
You can't do that, and then you face that. Of course, yesterday we reported they went from okay, so 4 or 5 weeks or so, then okay, maybe 8-9 weeks. don't be surprised if you find out that they're saying, okay, it's going to take longer than that now.
Yeah, there have been reports that I guess Pete Hegseth implied that they were looking to go all the way through September.
I haven't seen that, and I'm not saying that those aren't out there. I don't think they want this. If it's at all possible, I think they want to be able to say, "Look, here was our goal. We've achieved it. Boom, mission accomplished, more or less."
Yeah, really.
They want that. They need that. And
especially
so,
before the elections.
So their incentive isn't going to be to drag it out. Now, it could become a situation that they don't have that they lose that control. Could be. But I will say this: operationally, right now, it's going very well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
For the U.S. and Israel. They're achieving their objectives ahead of schedule.
Well, again, I've heard a lot of different what the actual objective is supposed to be, and so it was supposed
I'm
to be
talking about like specific
military
because
objective.
Target A should not be there. Hey, Target A is not there anymore.
Okay, so the specific current targets are being met, but the promised outcome or the objective outcome does not seem to be that way, because we keep seeing more and more nations that are being pulled into this and getting involved with this now. And from what President Trump was trying to imply was that we were just going to take out these targets, and then the Iranian people were supposed to take back their government. It's not a regime change per se, but it's meant to liberate the people. And right now there is a very large group of people within Iran still, including the people that have control over the military, that don't seem to be as thrilled about this. And it does not seem like we're very much closer to liberating the Iranians.
But the goal that was argued was they're about to become nuclear warhead capable. We're stopping that because it's an imminent threat. That's the main argument that was made.
And so far, so good.
It looks that way, yeah.
I do think that there might be some naivety if the assumption that you can go in, kick butt, and be done in 48 hours for something of this scale is maybe a product of our immediate gratification society, because we're so used to being able to do everything at the snap of a finger. That's not realistic. But I agree with people saying, no, this needs to not drag on for months.
I've got concerns about that.
Well, I do too.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
I do too.
So let me know what you think. Send us notes on social media. I'm curious what everybody thinks about that.
Who's recording you?
Yeah.
The camera might be right in front of you. In fact, you might be looking right at it and not realize it. We're going to explain at 7:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power. Every minute of every day, death and destruction from the sky, all day long.
On NewsTalkSTL.
I've got Dr. Michael Lewis here, West Point graduate, physician, and retired Army colonel. Is considered the world's leading expert on the use of omega-3s for traumatic brain injury and concussions. Stuart Tomp brings over 30 years of experience in the supplement industry, brought $1 billion of products to the market, and has appeared in over 6,000 media interviews worldwide, and travels internationally and teaches on health.
Stuart Tomp here, and I've come across the biggest breakthrough in personalized nutrition I've seen in 25 years.
Dr. Lewis here. For the first time, we can measure cellular and gut health. So you can start testing and stop guessing and make decisions based on real data. I'm working with world-class scientists and physicians, and what they're doing is changing everything.
You can message me at elizabeth@statmedicalllc.com. That is Elizabeth at StatMedicalLLC.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
It is an honor and a privilege to have U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt.
Hey, I have to tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you this. In the 90s, when would this have been? Mid-90s.
Yeah.
And I was I worked at Grant's Farm, and I had a couple other jobs. In the afternoon, I would often hear and listen to Porcelli's Deli on the radio.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making me feel older than I already feel. That's just great.
Vic Porcelli.
Live and local, weekday mornings at 9.
On NewsTalkSTL.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations, Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill.com.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connor's USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
I know these things existed. We all knew that, but it used to be just like in spy movies and stuff like that. Technology is amazing, but technology can also be really creepy.
Yes, it can.
Okay, you saw this story that I got for this, right? This is nuts. Okay,
I haven't.
So here's what's going on. Like you were saying, who's watching you on camera, possibly right in front of you,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Well,
Okay,
hopefully
I
the
get
News
it.
Talk audience. I would hope
Yeah,
they're
I
watching.
mean, we've got the camera. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. There's Meta is among those who have a product called smart glasses.
Yes.
Okay, so these have tiny little cameras that are very high resolution and tiny little microphones that are very good quality. And so somebody could be, and you can't tell the difference between regular glasses, like the glasses Susie's wearing, the reading glasses that I've got on right now, or sunglasses, and you could be anywhere and they just look like glasses, but they are recording in high definition, both audio and video. And you would have no idea whatsoever. And I actually kind of came across the story. I knew this thing existed. They did like, there was a big push for this a few years ago and it kind of fizzled out and fell flat, but now it's making a big comeback. And so there's an app out there that's called, and the story I found, I dug a little bit and found it in TechCrunch, which is, technology blog kind of thing. But there's an app out there called, what's it called here? Nearby Glasses is the app. Now, it's only for Android at the moment. They're still working on the iPhone app. But basically, it would equip your phone, in theory, to be able to detect if one of these cameras is nearby. So because cameras actually, they do emit a certain frequency, and that's not crazy. Like, for instance, for, was it Christmas this past year or the year before, I got a couple of those camera detectors, like handheld ones that you can take into a hotel room or Airbnb, and gave one to my daughter and gave one to my wife. Because, for when they travel, because those are just real things, because cameras do admit that. And, so that you could just scan and make sure there's no hidden cameras anywhere, because they're really creepy what you can do. And they're perfectly legal to buy. And so, but the technology has gotten so good that these are readily available now. These camera things. So you could walk in. I mean, imagine
Camera
anywhere.
ferrets.
Yeah, I mean, imagine anywhere. Obviously, we're going to think like locker room in your gym or at your school, or you know what, you sit down and you're confiding in somebody, but they're actually recording, to use against you in something, or something along those lines. Business lunch with your friends in the industry, and you're getting inside information, and there's not to mention blackmail stuff. But then you look at this as the kind of stuff that like Project Veritas is going to use to go get what they get. So everything's a tool, but I don't know that there are any on the up and up motivations for using something like this.
Yeah, I
and I've seen commercials for it on TV, and they try to go like with the Meta smart glasses. It's like, hey, whatever, Meta, Google, whatever it is, hey, what kind of bird is that I'm looking at? Oh, that's a whatever thing. And that's how they're trying to pitch it. Like, but.
Yeah, there's an added layer that I actually stumbled across yesterday. I'm just going to read the very first paragraph.
Yeah.
It's a long tweet, so I'm just going to read the very first paragraph of this. Meta's Ray-Ban glasses need human data annotators to train the AI. So when you say, hey, Meta, and ask the glasses to analyze something, that video gets sent to Meta's servers, then routed to Sama, a subcontractor in Nairobi, Kenya. Workers there manually label objects in your footage. So they're seeing everything that you recorded, and that's so that they can train the AI.
In Kenya.
So it's in Kenya. So it's actually going, this smart AI technology is now being routed to human beings who can look at it and go, oh, that's a bird, that's a thrush, that's a donkey.
Right.
And they're training the AI. So it's like, what are we even doing? So sorry, just that's an added layer to this. But yeah, I think you want to know if what you're doing and saying is being recorded.
Also in the article, it does mention that Meta had made a decision to implement face recognition as a default feature of the smart glasses But the interesting thing is in the screenshot of, I'm not sure if this is the actual app or if this is like a prototype thing, but it goes through how it identifies that smart glasses are nearby. But the last thing it says is do not harass anyone at all. So is this more of a activist thing, like, hey, you're being recorded, so be careful of the tactics that you're going to be using, or don't be, have a meltdown in public? Or is this more of a just a general, hey, you might be being recorded by somebody?
I mean, for instance, if you're having a problem with somebody who's getting away with, harassing or threatening you, you can get the evidence. I mean, so it's not like there aren't, productive things you could do with it.
Right.
And when you go outside, Susie, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm going to tap into your legalese here.
Mm-hmm.
You go outside, you go on the street, you have no legal expectation of privacy whatsoever if you were out in the public.
That I would say is correct.
it
And people
is
have tried to argue otherwise, but it is legal. Yeah,
it is
you
legal
have
to
assume.
record you, if you are out in public or you are in a public space that's open to the public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to assume that. And in these days, you just kind of have to assume you're on camera at all times.
Well, I would always assume you're on camera, no matter where you are. I would assume. But in this case right here, think of like the intimate, private moments, and I just don't mean like physically. I mean like conversations, and that you're having. You're struggling, and that person at your church turns out to not be trustworthy, and they record everything you say.
Right.
And so all of these things could be that you could be anything, could be, any sort of violation could happen. So should we demand some kind of protection from something like this? Because the ability to abuse it is unlimited.
I do have a major issue with the fact that these servers are being held in another country, given the fact that we've seen a lot of cybersecurity attacks from China and other hostile nations. And it wouldn't even have to be a conversation. It could be, here is a building that might be of interest. Here's where the servers are at. So I'm getting all this information through my smart camera. It's being sent somewhere else. And then that database center now gets a cyber attack. And whoever wants that information now has a whole lot of juicy information available to them if they so choose to use it.
See, and it's real easy to go, well, then don't say anything racist or harassment, or don't say anything like that, and you'll be just fine. Well, if everything's kept in context, then maybe you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But this records on your own, too, and you can send this to your own app or cloud or whatever.
It's kind of like a Pandora's box.
It really is.
Yeah. This app it's something that is it its own device, or it's something that
you mean the app to help warn you about it?
Yeah.
And it's got mixed reviews, and even the developer says still a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some false narratives, or some false positives rather.
Mm-hmm.
But it's designed to let you know, hey, it's nearby. It's not going to block it. It's not going to jam it. But if you're standing in the line at the coffee shop or something, you could get, hey, somebody's got one of these things around you.
So, but is that an app on your phone?
It would be on your phone.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were saying, but I just want to make sure.
It would go on your phone, and then it would be designed there to detect that, because your phone can detect all kinds of stuff. It takes in digital
It
signals.
already listens in on your conversations and sells stuff to you. So.
Does it ever? Oh, yeah. I actually mentioned a person to whom I may have met, but I don't even know this person in a conversation. And guess what Facebook friend suggestion I got? That person.
Go figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
PMS says, never underestimate the ability of our government to gather any and all information on all of its citizens and non-citizens, legally or illegally. And I remember growing up, a lot of the criticisms of China was that they have a mass AI database surveillance system. You're never private. And now it just seems like we are enabling that system to come here because if with the way it sounds like these smart glasses work, is that now potentially you could just be tapped into, and suddenly you are a walking camera for whoever needs that information.
Yeah, and a lot of these companies, because what we saw in some of the banking stuff, especially during the Biden years, is they say, well, we're not allowed to go get that information without violating their constitutional rights. And the social media companies, but if we talk them into voluntarily turning it over, then we're clear.
Big Brother's watching.
Yeah, and we'll just make it worth their while.
Producer Joey V from the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show here, reminding you, don't waste a buck on movies that suck. Tune in to Joey V's Movies Fridays at 5:45 for reviews you can trust. Brought to you by Harry J. Steakhouse in Moscow Mills.
Hey, Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Tune in this Sunday right here on News Talk STL. We've got a spirited conversation lined up with my good buddy Mark Sutherland of Stone Ledge Spirits. We're going to learn a little bit about what's going on in travel and tourism in the Missouri area, what's going on in Defiance this weekend with the St. Patty's Day Parade, and have a little fun with a new special release he's got lined up as well. So check us out Sunday morning, 9 a.m., News Talk STL, or your Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Key news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. On a scale of 1 to 10, President Trump says the Iran mission has been a 15. So far, he says the war is going very well.
Missiles are being wiped out rapidly. Their launchers are being wiped out. They're attacking their neighbors. They're attacking their, in some cases, allies, or not so long ago allies. And, you know, it's really a nation that was out of control, and they would have used it on us if we let them. We waited any longer.
Israel and Iran are trading more missile fire on this day 6 of the conflict. The war has killed more than 1,200 people in Iran, more than 70 in Lebanon, around a dozen in Israel. That's according to officials in those countries. The U.S. military has identified 2 more of the Americans who died in Kuwait.
In all, 6 soldiers were killed Sunday when a drone strike hit a command center in Kuwait. After identifying 4 of them Tuesday, the Pentagon has now provided the last 2 names. 55-year-old Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzan of Sacramento, California, and 45-year-old Major Jeffrey O'Brien of Indianola, Iowa. At a news conference Wednesday, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth was asked about guarding against such drone attacks.
We have pushed every counter-UAS system possible forward, sparing no expense or capability.
The White House says President Trump will attend the dignified transfers of the soldiers when they arrive back in the U.S. I'm Ben Thomas.
And the Senate has rejected an effort to end the war, Republicans voting down a war powers resolution. Now that Republican Senator Steve Daines of Montana has announced that he is not running for re-election, President Trump has endorsed U.S. Attorney Kurt Olmey for that seat. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures down 285 points, NASDAQ futures off 97, S&P futures down 21 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
We have reached the age where things just cost more.
Cars, phones, life insurance.
Your blood pressure is up.
Your weight is up.
You're one to talk.
I have type 2 diabetes, so I'm getting dinged just like you.
Thank goodness for Big Lou.
Big Lou!
Big Lou can get term life insurance rates for a 50-year-old male with type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure, or maybe he's on anxiety meds. For just around $200 a month for $1 million of coverage.
Oh, you got to say that again.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll say it. Big Lou and term provider could get a 50-year-old man, a little dinged up, $1 million in life insurance for around $200 a month.
Call Big Lou.
Big Lou!
He's like you.
800-555-2085. That's 800-555-2085. Don't put it off. If you're overweight, diabetic, have high blood pressure, you gotta call Big Lou.
Gotta.
800-555-2085. Write it down.
800-555-2085.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Showers and storms continue to push out throughout the area throughout the early morning hours. This afternoon, temperature is going to continue to rise towards the mid-60s, mostly cloudy skies. Then into the overnight hours, could see a few isolated chances of some showers and storms pushing out before sunrise into Friday morning. A dry Friday, temperatures up towards the upper 70s, partly sunny. Late Friday night to Saturday morning, a first alert weather day for the potential of strong to severe storms. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
Mike Ferguson.
Shut this sucker down.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
You're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, how about this? Some of you who are listening are going to be asked to approve a tax increase.
Oh.
Now, we know my thoughts on tax increases, in general. This one's even a little bit weirder. Yeah. Also, the data center thing.
Yeah.
I mean, people fired up everywhere. I saw on the TV news even this morning, another community. People are up in arms about this. And listen, you maybe you're right on it, maybe you're wrong, but I think a lot of people are jumping to a conclusion and getting really worked up without actually knowing what they're getting worked up over. Because these things are growing so fast, it is kind of a new concept. And so let's sort out what these things would actually mean for your community. And the folks at the Show Me Institute, they dig into all that. So we're going to dig into that with them. David Stokes joins me right now. David, I want to start with this thing in O'Fallon on the Missouri side. There's a proposed tax increase on the ballot, but it's not for the school district. It's not for like the sewers or the fire department or anything like that. What is it that they're actually asking voters to raise taxes on themselves to pay for?
They're looking to impose an economic development sales tax, which is like an oxymoron.
I say, what? What?
Well, yeah, it's the municipalities in Missouri are allowed to do this economic development sales tax, and not a lot of them have so far, thankfully. But O'Fallon is looking to have voters approve it at the 3/8 cent level, so a little over a quarter cent. And the purpose of the economic development sales tax is simply to build a slush fund for tax subsidies around the state. I blogged about this at showmeinstitute.org and told the story of how University City, where I live, which unfortunately has this tax, which just a company in University City wanted to sort of upgrade their line in their factory for the equipment they make. So they just wrote University City and said, hey, can we have some of the sales tax money so we can upgrade our line? And University City said, yeah, sure, and sent them a check for like $150,000 or something. Wow. This was a private company making a private investment to make a private profit, and that part's all wonderful. But why are the taxpayers of University City or potentially O'Fallon subsidizing this through their sales taxes? It's absolutely preposterous. I call it the worst tax in Missouri because there's plenty of bad taxes like the earnings tax in St. Louis, which I have an op-ed on today in the Post-Dispatch to give a little tease for. But at least those taxes fund legitimate purposes of government. This proposal in O'Fallon, it's just creating a slush fund, It's a terrible idea. Now, O'Fallon is claiming they're going to use it not for corporate giveaways, at least in the beginning. They want to improve their water system. And while, okay, you don't want to use it for corporate welfare, fine. It's not like using it for water infrastructure is any better. That's the type of thing that should be paid for with water bills on the people who use water, not on the general sales taxes of people who shop in O'Fallon. So it's really just a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're going to have something for the infrastructure, then put something on the ballot that asks people, do you want to spend more money and be taxed for your infrastructure? But to say it's for economic development, that's what's really, really odd to me. I mean, listen, I've been in elected office at the local level before too, and I couldn't imagine somebody coming saying, let's ask people to raise taxes on themselves, and then we'll just use it to help whatever businesses we want, or maybe I would assume to be able to entice them with some kind of goodies. I mean, there's all kinds of tools to give away taxpayer money for that through CIDs and TIFs and all that kind of stuff. So at this point, O'Fallon, if I'm understanding you right, David, O'Fallon is asking its citizens to raise taxes on itself and anybody who wants to come in and do business there in order to basically have a blank check for whomever and whatever they want. Is there anything in the ballot language that would say, well, they can only give out loans and the businesses would have to pay it back, or there are restrictions on how they could do it? Or is it just a matter of, as long as we call it economic development, we can make it rain, baby?
Well, that's right. They can make it rain, and I'm sitting out here in the rain talking to you, so particularly appropriate. Yeah, there's no limits in the ballot language. As long as they call it economic development, they can do it whatever they want, whether it's for infrastructure, and I'm using air quotes on that word, because again, if they need to expand their water system, which is fine with me, there's nothing wrong with that, but they should use water bonds to do that, and then pay for water bonds by people from their water bills. Yeah. But they make no secret, Mike, in the papers that they're doing this as a way to get people who don't live in O'Fallon to pay for O'Fallon stuff. Like, they're very honest about that. And I think it's terrible that this is the way they can give their goodies to corporations that want to move there, build their water infrastructure, and this is the key, have people outside of O'Fallon pay for a lot of it. Okay. And I almost appreciate the honesty when their city officials are quoted in the paper saying that. Well, that's terrible public policy. That's a terrible tax system. That doesn't make anything better at all. It's just a very bad idea. Use water bonds if you need to use your water system. Best of all, privatize your water system. That's what they should really do. But if not that, at least pay it for yourself through your water bills and water bonds. This whole economic development sales tax, we're gonna get other people to pay for our stuff, and then we're gonna have this slush fund to give to companies that we want to entice to move here. It's absolutely atrocious public policy, and it's so infuriating that things like this over the past 15 to 20 years have become so common in Missouri. It's just terrible. Okay, so I've got a devil's advocate question I'll ask here in a second, but you said you're out in the rain right now. Did Brenda lock you out of the building again? Is she not letting you in? Are you in trouble again? Right, I was 1 minute late. There it is. Office today. I'm locked out. Okay, so here's the devil's advocate question, and I don't think this way, but I can imagine there might be somebody in the municipal world out there, and they're going to say, yeah, but David, okay, yeah, it's a tax increase. We get it. People don't like tax increases, but we need to be competitive. We need to be able to offer, the corporate welfare stuff, as you and Mike call it. It may suck, but that's the reality of the world, so we need to have some weapons to attract these businesses because we sure do love the ribbon cuttings and we sure do love the jobs, and it's just an investment because if we can give away the goodies, we can get the jobs, and in the end, we grow our local economy and help our businesses. Why is that wrong? Well, right. There's plenty of people in municipal government who think that way, and these things are being pushed oftentimes by economic development officials who don't care about the long-term success or failure of it. They care about the ribbon cutting now. They care about being claimed to have done a program so that they can leave whatever city they're in and get a bigger job in economic development at a bigger city. So the incentives are all wrong for the elected officials and the economic development officials who push this stuff. So So wait a minute. First of all, in O'Fallon's case, this is the fastest growing city in the state of Missouri, and has been for over a decade. The idea that they need to use incentives to attract people or businesses is preposterous. Again, this isn't. I don't favor these incentives in the city of St. Louis or poor suburbs in North County, but you can understand that point. We need to attract business somehow. You don't need this at all in O'Fallon or at all in St. Charles County. It's just ludicrous on its face. But yeah, they still think like that with their very short-term warped incentives in their mind. What benefits them as an economic development official in O'Fallon? Sitting back and saying the correct answer, which is the market will do this far better than local government will. That doesn't benefit your O'Fallon local economic development official. That's just, then everybody will say, well, then what are we paying you for? And as I've said many times, we shouldn't be paying them to do anything. The state, counties, and cities should abandon their economic development efforts because they're actively harmful. And here's a way to save $100,000 a year: fire your economic development official. But how you phrased it is how they incorrectly look at it.
Yeah. All right. This is going to be Proposition what on the April ballot there in O'Fallon?
I don't know the number actually. Yeah. I should. I need to look that up. But it's not. It's an April ballot, so unlike November ballots, they're not very long.
Yeah.
So you won't miss it if you show up to vote in O'Fallon on Election Day. I think it's April 7th.
Okay, so then obviously go to the blog and you can see, I'm sure, a link to something there as well. We're visiting with David Stokes from the Show Me Institute. David, I just got another minute or two left here, but this data center thing, I saw another thing on the news. Big protest against a data center coming to, I think it was Pacific on this. We've seen this in Festus, we've seen it in Troy, Illinois, we see Warren County, we've seen Lincoln County, Jefferson County, we've seen this in the city. Data centers are needed for our digital world. I mean, nobody disagrees with that. Nobody seems to want to allow them in their community, saying it's going to be a drain on our energy, it's going to raise our cost, it's, noise pollution. St. Charles had a big, debate over that as well. Whether you're pro or anti-data center, what are the facts we need to know about how these things affect our communities before we get worked up one way or the other?
Right. Data centers are absolutely necessary for the growth of our economy and for our modern society to continue. We absolutely need them. They can bring a lot of good stuff to a community, and what they really bring to the local community, if you're Festus or Pacific or Forestville or over at towns over in Illinois, is they can bring an enormous amount of tax revenue. But as so often happens, our politicians are screwing up the best thing that they'll bring to that local community through giving out tax subsidies. Post-Dispatch had a story just the other day of this terrible state law that has just a blanket sales tax exemption for all the equipment data centers buy. It was quietly passed a couple of years ago. So many of these things just pass under the radar. This was one of them. And it is forgiven, I think, according to the Post, $77 million in sales taxes from data center purchases in Missouri over the past several years. And continuing on, some of these cities and counties are giving them property tax abatements and all that. I support data centers. We need data centers, but there is no need for communities to be offering these tax abatements. They bring so much in tax revenue that you can give everybody in your community, everybody in Festus, everybody in Pacific, a tax cut based on that data center, including the data center, just by lowering rates once they come in, particularly the really large ones. But our advice at Show Me Institute is basically saying, say no to the incentives and let the market work it out from there. And, there might be a few specific spots that aren't great for them. So it's not to say cities and counties should have no say in how they go. They are better with the noise and all in little rural areas. There's been a lot of smaller successful data centers in downtown St. Louis, Mike. That's one of the few uses of the vacant buildings in downtown that's been successful over the past several years. Data centers downtown. So we need data centers. We need them around our region, but cities and counties need to say no to the tax subsidies, and the state should reconsider this ridiculous sales tax exemption. Here you have the state government trying to passed legislation to phase out our income tax, and at the same time, they're giving massive exemptions on the same sales taxes you need to do that. It's working at cross purposes, and it's dumb policy.
All right, showmeinstitute.org is where you find David's work, and we've already tagged you on our social media as well. David, thanks so much for the input, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Always enjoy talking with you, Mike. It's always great to be on the air with you. I hope to see you soon.
Absolutely, and hopefully Brenda lets him in the building at some point. It's raining. just saying.
Good luck, Dave.
Brenda, forgive him. It's okay. Just saying. All right, just ahead here, Missouri lawmakers, speaking of Missouri lawmakers, they are looking at dealing with the possibility of truck drivers who did what that guy did last week, drive the truck the wrong way because he couldn't read the dang signs.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're looking at some legislation. I'll update you on that in the news dump here in just about 2.5 minutes.
Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
People talk about federal money as if it falls from heaven. You know, we thank heaven for it, but it came out of people's pockets.
On NewsTalkSTL.
Hunters, you know what's right around the corner. That would be turkey season coming up next month here. Now, if you need to, this is the time to restock. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors, whistlepigoutdoors.com, or go, even better yet, listen, go check out the store. Go visit with Jason and Cole, father and son, who own Whistle Pig Outdoors right there in Troy, right there on Main Street. Can't miss it. I love that store. Listen, right now they've got turkey hunting clothing from the really good brands. We're talking Old Tom here, as well as Banded and First Light. And you need to update your turkey calls? Well, they can hook you up there. Rolling Thunder, RTD, Gosserbat, game calls, they've got it. Top of the line stuff. Decoys, those things wear out after time. So you need to get your decoys, especially for turkey hunting. And they've got the best ammo. We're talking for Winchester and Apex and some of the other brands. And Whistle Pig Outdoors right now, they got the whistling deal. This is what we're calling this here. It is where they really leverage their buying power to save you money. For instance, they've got 2 Browning ground blinds available. Now, normally you're going to pay $400 for these things. Whistling deal right now, $200. $199.99 for a $400 ground blind. So go to Whistle Pig right now, whistlepigoutdoors.com, or go stop by right there on Main Street in Troy to check it out for yourself. They've also got Alps Outdoors Triad Blinds Chair, and that compare with the blinds, of course. Again, normally this is a $120 item. Whistling deal, $60. You are going to save. So now's the time to get ready for the turkey season that's opening up here in just a few weeks. And there are hunters and outdoorsmen and women who come from over 100 miles around the region just to go to Whistle Pig Outdoors because they live it. They are hunters. They are outdoorsmen. They only put quality on their shelves, and they are there to make sure that your hunting season has the best harvest possible, or your camping season is the safest and most fun that it can possibly be. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy. Tell them that Mike sent them. Mike sent you to them at whistlepigoutdoors.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Allman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators. They're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Okay, the war continues with the commander-in-chief in charge, and we find out that one of the soldiers killed in Kuwait, one of the U.S. soldiers killed in Kuwait, has a St. Louis connection, at least. Yeah. Missouri lawmakers, as I just mentioned, reacting to the case of the wrong-way truck driver. This is not just a knee-jerk reaction. They're actually looking to do something legitimate. Boys, some St. Louis sports teams had a pretty good day. 8:23 right now. Let's sneak in one more news dump for the day.
The morning news dump brought to you by the Nutrition Stop.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The morning news dump.
And by the way, speaking of Nutrition Stop, I put a link to that event that they've got this coming Tuesday, free educational event. You just have to show up. There's no need to RSVP. You can just be there. I put that up in the Rumble chat box. So the link's right there. You can check it out for yourself. Then you can visit that. And, I'm telling you, I haven't met this doctor, but the doctor is from a company that's really done me a lot of good. That's for sure.
And I'll throw that link on the Facebook comments.
Please.
I'll pin it so that way when you go back to check on the stream, you can see exactly right there.
All right. Okay, one of the 6 soldiers killed in the Iran war has at least a secondary connection to St. Louis. 35-year-old Army Reserve Captain Cody Cork was from Winter Haven, Florida, but he was also a Webster University student. Webster says Cork was in their master's degree program studying business and organizational security. Captain Cork was stationed in Kuwait when he was killed in the line of duty, one of 6 U.S. servicemen and women killed so far in that war. And speaking of the war, a Democratic-led effort to restrain the war in Iran fails in the U.S. Senate.
On this, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion to discharge is not approved.
Okay, so what we were talking about there was basically a war powers resolution, is what this was. And that resolution, if it had been passed and signed into law, would have required the president to stop the execution of the war until Congress authorizes it to continue. The vote was mostly along party lines. Rand Paul voted for the resolution. John Fetterman voted against it. So basically they traded one vote on each side. The House is expected to actually vote on it today, even though it's already failed in the Senate. So essentially what you have, because President Trump would obviously never sign this into law if it passes both houses. But what we're talking about here is every politician who votes is going to be putting on the record, are they for the war in Iran or are they against the war in Iran as it stands right now?
And with the fact that even the most recent polls I've seen, it shows that the approval for the war is, it's a little bit higher than it was before the strike, but not by very much. It's still extremely unpopular on both sides of the aisle with the average voter. So we'll see what kind of impact this has later on.
And likely, for whatever the polls are worth, and I'm always skeptical of polling, that increase could very well be, okay, we're winning. And, we've had, very, very, very few people killed on this. But the longer this goes, I think there's a lot of apprehension. I really do. I think there's a lot of apprehension on this. So, hopefully the administration can follow through, get this done quickly, get our men and women out of harm's way, and get out. That's the ideal at this point. Okay, Missouri lawmakers considering a bill to impose penalties on commercial drivers who cannot speak or read English, regardless of where they got their license. Now, here's part of the story. KMOV's Hannah Falcon posted that, and it's starting with comments from State Representative Tricia Burns.
They need to be able to read our trucks, our highway signs, and they need to be able to speak about safety with the law enforcement officers if they're pulled over.
A new bill would allow Missouri prosecutors to go after both the driver and a trucking company if a commercial driver cannot pass an English proficiency test. They may receive a fine of up to $3,000. Wentzville Republican Representative Tricia Burns was quick to call the bill into her committee after learning this driver held a valid Minnesota CDL but could not understand road signs.
But regardless of status, whether it's a legal immigrant or an illegal immigrant, regardless of that, right? If you cannot speak English, you should not be on our roads.
Okay, so Missouri law already requires English proficiency to get a CDL. You cannot get a CDL from the state of Missouri unless you show English proficiency. But this says if you come from another state, Minnesota, California, wherever, and you can't, that you're not allowed, even if your license is valid, you're not allowed to drive on Missouri's highways if you can't do this.
Well, when I did security in Illinois, that was also the standard. Is that if you were not proficient and you could not pass the English test on your own, you couldn't identify roadsides. You were not supposed to have one. And what the truckers were telling us is that to meet recruitment numbers, there were people that were helping fudge the stuff to help them get it.
Yeah.
So I think that at the very least, the person that is assisting in this and allowing these to be issued to people that can't are not safe for the roads, I mean, hit them with a reckless endangerment charge or something. Make it a criminal thing.
But in this case, the prosecutors could go after him. It doesn't look like anybody's going to go to jail, but fines for not just the driver, but the company that's employing them as well. That's what they're going to. If you want to look it up yourself, it's House Bill 3491. Okay, U.S. House lawmakers have voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Good.
Yeah, for her handling or mishandling of the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation.
They need to be able to.
Gosh, Dana, that did it again here. All right, clicked once. I needed to click twice. Sorry about that. All right, here it is. Here's the story from Town Hall.
5 Republicans joined Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to support the subpoena, which was proposed by GOP Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina. The action reflects continued frustration among conservatives with the Justice Department's review and release of Epstein documents. In a social media post, Mace wrote, "The American people want answers on the Epstein files, and so do we." Greg Clugston, Washington.
I mean, the bottom line is when you look at the debacle of handling the Epstein case right now, the most generous interpretation is that Pam Bondi has been incompetent on this. The most realistic is that she's been part of a cover-up and she's lied.
Yeah, having watched the entire 4 hours, 32 minutes, and I think 30-something seconds of the hearing that they had with her and watching her blatantly just not answer anything and then turn it around to do personal attacks on individuals that were asking her questions, really, I think a subpoena is necessary at this point. You need to be forced to accurately answer questions on behalf of the American people.
Yeah, because she's been caught saying things that were just simply demonstrably false.
Well, and when asked to apologize for something, for the way she was handling stuff, she's like, well, did you apologize to President Trump for this?
Yeah.
It's like, this has nothing
This
to do
has nothing to do with that.
This has to do with national security and getting justice for the victims that were abused.
Yeah, not everything revolves around Donald Trump. So I'm glad they're subpoenaing her.
Yes.
They put her, all right, Billikens beat Loyola last night, final score 79-65. Here's why that matters. That guarantees them the number 1 seed in the Atlantic 10 conference tournament coming up here this month, and they will share at least share the regular season championship in the Atlantic 10. So if the Billikens can win their last regular season game against George Mason on Saturday, then they win the conference outright for the regular season.
Ooh.
And they still, either way, they're the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. Blues got a win last night. They beat the Kraken 3-2 in Seattle. Blues have won 3 of their last 4 games, 3 of the 4 games since the Olympic break, basically. And they play the Sharks again. That's a road game in San Jose on Friday. Cardinals play the Pirates this afternoon at 12:05. Dustin May going to be on the bump for that one. This one is going to be on the Cardinals TV streaming, which you can get through Cardinals website or through MLB Network.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I have smelled alcohol on your breath. Anything else?
No.
No.
No. Besides my meds.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. Showers and storms continue to push out throughout the area throughout the early morning hours. This afternoon, temperatures going to continue to rise towards the mid-60s, mostly cloudy skies. Then into the overnight hours, could see a few isolated chances of some showers and storms pushing up before sunrise into Friday morning. A dry Friday, temperatures up towards the upper 70s, partly sunny. Late Friday night to Saturday morning, a first alert weather day for the potential of strong to severe storms. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Fox News commentary with Jimmy Fallon next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Jimmy Fallon.
You know how people say, like, this is not the hill to die on? That point never gets made to the Democrats because they die on every single hill. And oftentimes they're getting offended on behalf of people who didn't ask them to. As women in Iran are ripping off their hijabs and partying in the streets because they could show their skin for the first time in their lives, Democrats, the same liberal women who claim they're oppressed, are telling you Trump had no business doing this, which is bananas. It's not an 80-20 issue. It's a 100-0 issue. It doesn't matter what individual people want. It doesn't matter what the individual issue is. The immediacy of the Democrats' feelings are the only thing that matter to them. Because they hate Trump as much as they do, because their only entree to voters is that you should hate him at all costs no matter what he does, they eventually get discredited in the eyes of rational adults.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, this Sunday night at 7 on News Talk STL. Hear all the behind-the-scenes stories about what the State Freedom Caucus is doing across the country, directly from the legislators and the people that are doing it. Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, this Sunday night at 7 with very special guest Mark Meadows, hosted by Tim Jones. Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, now Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL.
Why are you going to work? It's Sunday.
It's a brand new show on News Talk STL. JC's Sunday Showgram.
This week I'll be here to remind you forgot to set your clocks ahead. Plus, it's back to 1986 for Hands Across America, then back to 85 for something we did called Jamaica Tape for the Morning Zoo. And it's Jamie Allman's birthday. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
Sunday morning, 7 to 9. Then podcast each Monday on NewsTalkSTL.com.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
We're just not thinking long term. I think the most important issue before us.
It's funny how these people who vote for him just don't seem to research the candidates.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, there was a bizarre and a violent scene in a U.S. Senate hearing yesterday. So I was telling the story a little bit earlier. I go to my baseball practice. Every Wednesday afternoon, I've got this baseball practice for my old man league. And so I go and I do the baseball practice, and then I went and filled up with gas, and I head back home. And then I get in. I'm like, let me check the social media and email and stuff real quick before I settle in for the night. And I see you and Susie. What the heck happened out there? So this former Marine, and he's dressed in the all dress uniform of the Marines, and I guess he's a Green Party guy. And he starts shouting in the middle of one of the Senate committee hearings. And so you'll hear it here in just a second. And, he's just another leftist, anti-Semitic bigot. But then the Capitol Police are like, all right, let's go. And normally what happens is people realize, okay, it's over. I've made my point. Well, he not throws fist again, but he fights. He fights back. He resists.
He was resisting.
He was without question resisting hard. And this was not a small guy. This is a former Marine. And 3 officers are mixing it up with him. They're going to the ground. It's getting violent. And then a United States Senator, Sheehy from Montana, steps in to help the cops. And so it got crazy. Is this the video going to be up on the stream?
Yeah, I put the video on.
Okay, so the video is about to be on the stream if you're watching us. And if you're not, you can click over to Facebook or Rumble right now, and you're going to be able to see this. And then just the sound itself, though, lets you know how intense this actually got. This happened in the United States Capitol yesterday.
War. America does not want to fight this war for Israel. Let's go. Come on, let's go. America does not want to send its sons and daughters the war for Israel. Your inability to name that shows your exemptness as leaders. This is wrong, and nobody wants to fight for Israel. A reminder to all our Commandant, please stand up as a Marine and stand up for America. No one wants to fight for Israel.
Okay, so we're talking about his hand. So he, after they took him down, and by the way, these cops weren't exactly small guys either. These are legit Capitol Police here. I mean, these guys are, I wouldn't want to mess with these guys. And he's hooking onto the door on the way out, trying to hang on. I mean, he's fighting them.
Well, okay, because I came under scrutiny first for saying that he was attacked by not me, but the post that I shared saying attacked. He was not fighting them in the sense that he was like pushing and shoving back at them. He was just he was trying to stand his ground.
No, he was pushing back on him. I mean, he wasn't throwing punches or fit. They were pushing him out. He was pushing back.
He was resisting.
Yeah, he was, and he knew how to use his body. You know, I mean, you've done wrestling, I've done martial art. He knew how to use his body. So did the police on that. They end up going down, and so he hooks onto the door, still trying to refuse, so he can yell his anti-Semitic BS. And the door ends up getting closed on his arm, and I haven't seen a report to confirm it, but it sure looks like it got broken in there. And that's somebody's like, his hand. I don't give a crap about his hand. I'll be really honest. Like, he did that to himself. I don't care.
Yeah, you can hear the pop in the video pretty clear. It doesn't come through as well on this one, but and the following, as he's being escorted out of there, I believe it was his wife with him, and she's recording and asking what happened. Why did you do this?
Because your husband's a dumbass.
And you can see with his arms behind his back, his hand is discolored and it looks limp.
Well,
So I don't know if it was his hand or his wrist. It does look like it came from the forearm area where it snapped. But the fundamental disagreement I have, because I mean, it's very clear this person's a very emotionally and mentally unwell person in the state. You know, and I know quite a few military veterans that they become very disenfranchised after their service, and then they come back and they just have a very big chip on their shoulder. And it's very unfortunate, and sometimes it results in stuff like this, but it's the actual engagement of Sheehy that was my biggest
Senator Sheehy from Montana,
Yeah.
Because he jumps down and helps the cops.
Yeah, and it starts with him, and there's an article that I'd read where they admit the fact that they were trying to frame it as though he came over to help unlatch the guy's arm once the door closed on him. But it's very clear from the video, from all the angles that have been posted, is that he tries to do the leg sweep to get to get him up off of his feet.
Right.
And then as they are trying to pull him out and he's still resisting, he does what's in wrestling is called an underhook.
Right.
And that when he did
some
that,
people would call it a half Nelson back in the day. They would call it.
Yeah.
But
so he does that and he kind of yanks, and that's when you actually hear the pop, and then people are saying his arm, and then once they realize what happened, then they put him back down. They try to help him unlatch his arm, and it's just fundamentally, if you are in a position at that time currently acting as a representative, an elected official,
a senator,
any politician. I mean, he basically, and I understand the reasoning and the logic, and Susie made a very good point. And
he's a former Green Beret.
Yeah, and so that instant could have been there, but at the same time, there is never an instance where anybody else in the world would see officers or even security guards handling a situation and then be able to insert themselves, result in the injury of another person, and then.
So you're not arguing that the guy shouldn't have been dealt with physically. You're just saying that guy shouldn't have been part of dealing with him physically.
No, absolutely. He put himself. He wanted to make a spectacle. He probably wanted to get some kind of viral clip going. He
did,
and he achieved his purpose with that. He did what he set out to do. It was not very professional.
It was just gross, stupid, extreme fringe leftism is what it was.
But it's again the escalation of it. So the officers, I mean, again,
who's responsible for the escalation, do you think? In your mind, when things got really ugly, whose fault was that?
I think it depends on what we say. It's ugly. I think from the very beginning when he decided to stand up and
I mean, like with the physicality and the scrum and the going to the ground and then the continue. Whose fault is that? And I'm asking actually because tell me who you think was at fault for escalating.
I think that he should have complied. I mean, so we saw, I think his name is Michael Presner, but he actually crashed a George Bush event. He was a combat veteran from at the Iraq War, and he was yelling, saying, "You need to apologize. You killed my friends. You killed all these Iraqis." And he made a huge spectacle as well. But when the people were escorting him out, he was not hard of resisting like this. So I do think that him specifically intentionally trying his hardest to make himself harder to remove from the room definitely put the officers in a position where now they have to sort of escalate their force. That's not what I'm complaining about either, because he should have known better. But at the same time, once politicians get involved with this, when somebody who is supposed to be a representative, who is not part of law enforcement, from what I've seen in my interpretation of the different angles, it does not appear that they were going to just yank him out when his arm was in there, that they were trying to still break his grip because they thought, maybe he's holding on. But it's specifically the actions of Sheehy that appear to be Sheehy.
Yeah.
It's just weird to say. I'm sorry.
It's a funny last name. Yeah.
But it's once he got involved with that and the way that he was then contributing his actions and directing sort of how the body was being handled is what resulted in that injury.
Well, I would argue that ultimately what resulted in the injury is this guy trying to physically use force to remain where he's not supposed to be, and disrupting a hearing of the United States Senate. So there's really a couple questions. Was force justified in removing this guy, even if it resulted in him breaking arm? Yeah, I think it was. Then the second question, which is what I'm hearing you say, is should an elected official be part of using that physical force?
Yes, and I will admit I'm very much probably more sensitive towards the treatment towards combat veterans than a lot of people are. I'm very much more against the permissiveness that we have with the activities of a lot of elected officials. So I might just be totally biased. I don't agree with anything he said or what he did in this chamber, but I think that it was not Sheehy's place to put himself in to get involved with that. If we were at a concert together and there's a belligerent drunk and he's making a ruckus and the cops are going and they're having trouble getting him out there, we can't just walk up, and I can't just I'm a regional gold medalist wrestler. I'm going to give him a hip toss. I can't assist in a arrest.
When the cops are taking somebody in that situation down to the ground, your job at that concert is to point and laugh at them.
Yes.
Like, dummy, you don't get to see the headlining band.
And I would probably be even more permissive of this if it was something where he's clearly endangering other people. And I mean, actually, like a potential physical altercation against anybody there, but the entire row of people that are watching this go on, like none of them seemed afraid of this guy. Nobody here seemed to be in danger.
Yeah, but it was a physical altercation. He started a physical altercation. When law enforcement came and said, okay, time to go, you heard at the very beginning, he fought and pushed back. He wouldn't go. And they ended up going to the ground. He was still pushing back. He caused the physical altercation. I mean, honestly, I think the police probably would have been justified using a lot more force. He actually got kind of lucky.
And I'm not criticizing the law enforcement. They have to keep the chamber safe. But, and again, maybe I'm just a rowdier person. When I think physical altercation, I'm thinking more in the sense of like you and I getting into a fist fight, or I'm grappling back. I'm pushing.
I think you could argue that he was grappling back just by
not in the video.
Yeah, I mean, because they're
sandbagging.
They're shoving him. No, he's actively pushing back. Body center mass went down. Braced the leg, pushing back, and because they tried to get him out the door once or twice, and they end up going to the ground because he's redirecting their force.
Okay, so I have an entirely different view. And again, you did judo.
I did judo. So that's what I mean. That's some of the stuff that we were taught.
Yeah. So from what I'm seeing is that it appears more like he's trying to stand his ground and not be removed. I don't see him actually pushing his way back, because it looks like the officer that had him from behind in the bear hug from behind tripped over one of the chairs while they're trying to get him towards the door, and you also have the other officer trying to pull the guy in the direction.
Because he was pushing back towards trying to stay in the building.
Interesting.
Yeah,
right,
that's what we're seeing. Honestly, the guy behind him could have just thrown on a rear naked choke and just wrenched him to the ground, and I think he would have been justified.
I think that maybe that would have activated the combat vet in him. I would not want to put my hands anywhere near a guy's neck that I know was in service like that.
Yeah, but then again, would it have been reasonable that this guy's pushing back, he's not complying, that he's not a threat right then and there when you've got a room full of U.S. senators who are trying to debate all this stuff?
If he wanted to be a threat, he could have. This guy is a big, large guy.
Yeah,
he's
a big guy.
Strong enough to resist two officers. But even in the video I saw of him talking about it beforehand, it was not an intentional, I'm going to intimidate and scare people. It was more, I'm going to make my voice heard, and I'm going to stop others from being sent to combat. Basically,
and I hate the Jews. I mean, basically, is what he didn't say in a word. But that's basically
like Israel.
Basically, he hates the Jews.
But again, so everything up until he gets involved.
Yeah.
I understand why they went that way.
Okay.
It's the fact that politicians need to know their place.
That I can buy that. I can buy that. All right, got some thoughts on it? Send us some notes here on social media, or give us a call 314-912-1019. J-Cause, he's actively resisting. They could have used a baton, mace, or taser under the use of force. I actually think that's correct.
Not Sheehy.
Not Sheehy, but the Capitol Police could have. Yeah, with that, I think that's absolutely correct.
Now, maybe on a lighter note, though, I'd also like to remind everybody that this is the last call for your 80s bump music request for Flashback Friday. This week's theme, Free for All.
There you go.
Just send whatever you want to hear. No theme necessary, but go ahead and send those to me at Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself, unless you suck.
On NewsTalk STL.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
You can feel the Clydesdales circling the field. Hear the stands come alive. Smell the hot dogs, the popcorn, and cold beer in the air. See the crowd rise as the first pitch hits the glove. And just like that, a new season begins. The countdown is on until opening day, and tickets start at just $49. Don't miss St. Louis's favorite holiday. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/opening day.
Cardinals single-game tickets are now on sale for the 2026 season. The schedule delivers big-time matchups, including weekend series against the Cubs and Dodgers, and visits from the Boston Red Sox. Add in a promotions calendar stacked with fan favorites like all-new giveaways, a Hawaiian short and shirt set, golf-inspired hat, dark mode jersey, and a whole lot more. It's Busch Stadium at its best all season long. Lock in your seats today at Cardinals.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
I'm just curious if this World Baseball Classic is going to have the stupid-ass Major League Baseball rule changes or if they're going to play real baseball. We'll ask Nate Lucas Thursday at 10:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on NewsTalk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Okay, here's one of those stories that it's kind of in the news right now, but I have a feeling this one's going to dissipate really quickly. But by the way, real quick, for those of you who are coming out to the Reach Reproductive Health pro-life luncheon here in a little bit, I'm going to be there. I'll see you there. Please stop by and say hi. We're going to have a News Talk STL, kind of display there as well. One of our station owners, Jeff, we're both going to be out there. Attorney General Catherine Hanaway is going to be there as well. This is not a political thing. This is really networking within the pro-life community. And when I say that, I mean, yes, there are going to be people there who are involved in policy, but we're talking about the people who do that person-to-person service, to help people in need, in crisis situations. And so going to get real good updates on that. There'll be some updates on Amendment 3 and things like that as well. But if you're going to be there at the Commons this afternoon, or this afternoon, about noon, Say hi, please. Stop by and say hi, because I'm going to be there. I'll get there a little bit early because we're going to help set up our thing. But look forward to meeting as many of you as we can. Okay, this one, like I said, I think this is going to dissolve from the public eye pretty quickly here, just because it's going to get overwhelmed by other things in the news. Jerome, did the overwhelming number of Congress critters in the House, we're talking just the House, did they vote to shield their own from transparency and scrutiny and from us knowing about their bad behavior?
It certainly appears that way.
Okay, so here's what happened is Congresswoman Nancy Mace, and don't get me wrong, she's a mixed bag. You know, she can be a handful, but she's not wrong on this at all. She put out a proposal, a resolution to release files on sexual misconduct and sexual harassment findings of members of Congress. So you accuse a congressperson, of harassment or, inappropriate behavior or whatever the case is. This is back in the news with Republican Tony Gonzalez, now finally admitting that he did have an affair with one of his staffers. She ended up committing suicide in a horrific way.
Yeah.
And there's obviously no shortage over the years of sex scandals in politics. So she says, let's release the file so that people will know who was accused, who was found to have done it, how much taxpayer money was paid out in settlements, and who was cleared of this. And so here was the vote. This is proposed. Then there was that's a little bit wonky because these are the games that the politicians play. They said, okay, let's do a motion to direct that to this committee. Well, everybody acknowledges openly that that's the way to kill the proposal, to kill the resolution, to make sure that it's never passed. Media on the left, media on the right, everybody acknowledges that was essentially a vote to kill this resolution, to make sure that it never passes and that these things are never released. There actually is a fund in Congress to pay out settlements for specifically sexual impropriety cases. That actually exists. They've got a permanent ongoing fund to pay out the settlements.
Now, where does this fund come from?
Okay, when you file your tax returns this year and you look at how much money you've paid, that's where it comes from.
So essentially, we are being charged to pay off the potential misconduct of those that are supposed to be our representatives, and they basically get off scot-free.
Yes. And so Nancy Mace says, release the files. We're the people's elected representatives. Release it. And, one of the arguments could be, well, you could be falsely accused. Absolutely, you can be falsely accused of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're found to have been falsely accused, what the records are going to say is, we investigated and they were cleared. Now, that's still embarrassing just to have an accusation. But if you're cleared, you're cleared.
Yeah.
Okay, so she puts this together, and it was basically the House voted to kill this resolution, essentially, by a margin of 357 to 65.
Oh, geez.
357 now there are 435 seats in the U.S. House. Now, not all of them are filled right now because there's been some resignations and deaths. But the vast majority voted to do away with this, so that the vast majority voted to protect the members of Congress who have been tagged for harassment or other sexual misconduct. That's the end result of this. Very bipartisan, and this moved very quickly.
George Carlin once said, it's a big club and you're not in it. And that is definitely one big club that I would not like to be part of.
Okay, so around here, on the Missouri side, of course, we have 8 Missouri Congress critters. Those who voted to protect and not release the files, those who voted the wrong way: Ann Wagner, Wesley Bell, Jason Smith, Emmanuel Cleaver, Mark Alford, and Sam Graves.
Shame on all of you.
Eric Burleson voted to release the files.
Good on you.
Bob Onder was not there for that vote for whatever reason, so he didn't vote on that.
Fair.
So Congresswoman Nancy Mace responded on social media by saying, these are her words, "Both parties colluded today to protect predators. Today they voted to keep sexual harassment records buried, and they did it together. The establishment always protects itself, never the victims. Remember their names when they ask for your vote."
I mean, well said. Right now, a lot of the frustration people are lashing out when it comes to the Epstein files, saying, well, it's because they're all in it. Well, some stuff like this does not build confidence that they're not all in it.
Yeah. So, and the resolution, by the way, did say to redact the names of the victims and alleged victims. So you can't argue that, well, it's to protect the victims. That was part of the actual resolution itself. But bipartisanship.
But my team versus your team.
Yeah. Except on this one, go Swamp.